All right, so all praises be to the Most High, Yeshua, and Wallah the Holy Spirit. We're going to continue with our mental illness lesson on today. We're going to continue with our mental illness lesson on today. Lesson number 4, we're going to talk about personality disorders. As we're going to specifically talk about histronic, Peter Pan, and narcissistic. Now, you're probably thinking, well, which one? I don't probably have any one of those. You'll be surprised. Very surprised. All right? So first and foremost, all praises be to Ahaya, Yeshua, and Wallah the Holy Spirit. We want to say peace to 12 tribes who are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. We want to say peace to the Gentiles who are following the law, statutes, and commandments throughout the four corners of the earth. So we're going to get into the lesson tonight and get an understanding on these personality disorders. Like we have said in times past, everybody has some type of mental illness. Everybody does. Depends on what level that you're operating in on that mental illness. But everybody has some type of mental illness or some type of mental deficiency. Why is that? Because you sin. It's just that simple. You sin, and that allowed the demons to come in, and that allowed the demons to do whatever they needed to do. Some people are way off. Some people are borderline. It depends on the person. But mental illness is something that everybody deals with at some point in time. Some of them are a little more severe. This Peter Pan is a little more severe. Histronic, a little more severe. Histrionic. Alright, so we're going to get into the personality disorders. Next week, it's a huge one. Schizophrenia. You may not think you don't have schizophrenia, but let me tell you this. I would say 80% of the people in this room and 80% of the people who are online have some sort of schizophrenia going on in here. It's huge. So we're going to understand schizophrenia. Why are we doing this? Number one, because after we're done with all these lessons, huge deliverances. Deliverance should be happening now. We've covered a lot of stuff right now. Deliverances should be going on now. And huge deliverances should be happening. Why is that? Because when the heavens roll back like a scroll and that trump is being blared, you don't want to think that, oh, wait a minute, that's some type of mental, you don't want to have something in your head saying that that's not what it is. That's not a trumpet blare. That's a hurricane alarm system. Or that's not the heavens rolling back like a scroll. It's a bad storm coming. So you don't want that. In First Peter, it says be sober, be vigilant, right? It says to be sober. Now that sober does not mean drunken or alcohol. It means have your mind clear. You have to have your mind clear. In order to be in this truth, you have to have your mind clear. That's why a lot of these elders are just teaching all kinds of whacked out stuff. They're putting their personal whatever on scriptures because of mental illness. And we're going to go over these we're going to go through these mental illness. But before we get there, John 15:18. Okay? Are you out of balance? Are you out of whack? It's a question that should come up. It's a question that most people who are in deliverance ministry have been asked or just been told, are you out of balance? You have to see who's out of balance. What person is out of balance? As deliverance ministers, you come under great persecution. Because people will think that well, you can't, ain't nobody got demons. Nobody has demons. That stuff went out with the 12 apostles. There is no more such thing as casting out demons. So you'll become ostracized, not only by the Israelite community, but by any community whatsoever that you attempt to assist or help. We call ourselves branching out to a Christian church. that pastor got so scared, he was like, God told me your assignment is over. After one session of deliverance, he says, God says that your assignment is over. Why is that? Read John 15:18.
John chapter 15, verse 18. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you.
Know that it hated me before it hated you. So Yeshua was doing deliverance. Yeshua was casting out spirits. The world hates Yeshua. They don't follow Yeshua. They follow Jesus. Right? So out of balance. But the Bible says this in Mark 16:17. Let's read that. The Bible, the world is out of balance. They're out of balance. Well, let's see what Yeshua says in Mark 16:17. Okay, you're going to get Matthew 28 and 20. This is not a joke. This is not a game. We have to become delivered. If you don't become delivered, then you're going to have to try to get through 3.5 years of the worst tribulation this world has ever seen. We're in the tribulation now, but this is nothing compared to what's going to happen. Because if you don't take that mark of the beast, mark on your forehead, Ash Wednesday, mark on your hand, Ash Wednesday, then you are out of line and you will be killed. Who wants to go through that when you can try to get everything done right now before the call of the wilderness? Before the call of the wilderness. Because once the call of the wilderness happens, you try to get stuff right, it's too late at that point.
Too late.
It's too late.
Well, that's what I believe a lot of people think they have time to get it right when you don't.
No, you don't. Check out the teaching that we did on the 70 weeks of day. See how much time you have. All right, let's read Mark 16:17.
Mark chapter 16, verse 17. And these signs shall follow them that believe. And my name shall they cast out devils.
See, no one does that. No one does that. No one, let me say this, Israelites, no one does it. You have a couple of groups that say, yeah, we come against demons. We tell our people to fast. Fast them demons out. What scripture is that? Show me a scripture that says you fast out demons. Right. Cast out demons. Show me a scripture where it says to fast out demons. There isn't one. Finish.
They shall speak with new tongues.
New tongues. Okay, that's not the Christian church haka baka 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 tongues. Not that. Go ahead.
Verse 18. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. People going to church sick, crutches, wheelchairs. They come out, crutches, wheelchairs, and their wallets are lighter. That's how it is. That's how it is in a Christian church. That's how it is in Israelite camps. Brothers come in sick, sisters come in sick, and they leave sick. Not only do they leave still with the same illnesses, but now they leave with kundalini spirits because they've been taught something that's totally wrong or totally against the Bible. Because some elder feels like he has something personal that he wants to bring out. He wants to show how educated he is. You don't do that. You just read. Go to Matthew 28 and 20. Read.
Matthew chapter 28, verse 20. Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you.
Teaching them to observe All things, not some things, not the Old Testament, not the New Testament. It says all things, everything. Read.
And lo, I am with you always.
He is with us always. So we're going to go into the 3 categories of mental illness. Okay? Because you're supposed to cast out these demons. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to heal the sick and they will recover. So we have 3 categories of mental illness, or 3 categories of demons. Because that's what it truly is. And the DSM, and we have talked about the DSM, lists personality disorders, and they list them in group of clusters. So write down cluster number 8. I'm sorry. Cluster letter A. Did I said number A, didn't I? Okay. Cluster letter A. For this cluster, it's odd or eccentric disorders. Okay. Now this cluster A, we're going to go in full detail next week. Cluster A deals with paranoid personality disorder, characterized by irrational suspicions and mistrust of others. This is not jealousy. This is a step above jealousy. Paranoid personality disorder, characterized by irrational suspicions and mistrust of others. What's the name of that movie? Remember that movie where A Beautiful Mind, right? The man was brilliant, smart, but he had 3 demons following him all over the place. And sometimes we could be so smart that we're stupid. But the illusion is that these people were real. And these people that Russell Crowe was talking to and was dealing with, they were real. Even down to the guy who was, and if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to give it out. But during these teachings of mental illness, I would highly suggest, if you haven't watched it, that you watch it. Dealing with that FBI agent, or was he FBI or CIA? Do you remember? Yeah, the guy with the black suit. I don't know if he was FBI or CIA. But dealing with him, he thought that codes and all this secret hiding, rendezvous, and all this other stuff. If you don't go through deliverance, the beautiful mind, the guy with the never mind. If you don't go through deliverance, that's what happens. You start seeing people, you start talking to people, you start conversating with people who are not fair. Those are demons. Okay? Also in cluster A, it's schizoid personality disorder. Like I said, this is what we're going to talk about next week. Okay, so we're going to get really into that next week. You have a lack of interest in social relationships, seeing no point in sharing time with others. The next one is schizotypical personality disorder, and that's odd behavior or odd thinking. You believe that you are president of the United States, not Donald Trump. You defeated Donald Trump. And you totally believe that. Odd behavior, odd thinking. All right? That's in cluster A, and we're going to really go in depth with that next week when we talk on schizophrenia. What's the name of what?
That last question.
It's spelled SCHIZOTYPAL. Schizotypal personality disorder. Oh, if you have questions about mental illness on the chat, please feel free to put your questions on the chat and we will respond. We'll open up for general questions at the end of the lesson. Okay? Cluster B. Cluster B talks about dramatic, emotional, or erratic disorders. And in cluster B, that's going to be our focus tonight. Cluster B is going to be our focus on tonight. So what do you have in cluster B? You have antisocial personality disorder. And that's a person who disregards everybody, doesn't care about anybody. They have a lack of empathy. These are the type of people who, during a funeral, they'll just start breaking out laughing. Just start breaking out laughing. Or dancing in a funeral. Right? They also have a regular pattern of criminal activity. Okay? Always in trouble with the law. The next one is borderline personality disorder. Okay? The next one is what we're going to talk about tonight. One of them we're going to speak on tonight. Histronic personality disorder. That's that right? Histrionic. If you need the spelling, it's Histrionic. Histrionic personality disorder. Yes, we're going to get that one first. Okay? And we're going to find out what that one is. And a lot of you women more than likely have it. The next one, and we're going to talk about this one later on tonight, narcissistic personality disorder. So cluster B is going to be our focus on tonight. Cluster A would be our focus next week. Cluster C, we touched on this in the very beginning. Cluster C is anxious or fearful disorders. And notice how Satan has this all set up. He has it all set up. There are so many, what is it called? Fear. What is it called? Paranoid, phobias. There are so many phobias, it is unreal. There's a phobia for everything. Everything. There's a phobia. People are afraid of hair. There's a phobia for that. People are afraid of heights. People are afraid of, hands. People are afraid of toads. People are afraid of spiders. People are afraid of refrigerators. These are true phobias. And there are people who are dealing with these phobias. There's some really, really disturbing ones. You're afraid of the outdoors. You cannot go outside. You open the door and automatically you're frozen. Cluster C has avoidant personality disorder. That's a person who really can't take criticism. And it's in extreme cases. They can't take criticism for anything. If you tell them their shoe is not tied right, automatically they feel that you're a very hurtful and evil, wicked person. It's to a very extreme. The next one is dependent personality disorder. That's a person who's just the opposite. You have to depend on everybody. You don't do anything yourself, but you depend on everybody around you. You don't do anything for yourself, and I mean nothing. Everybody has to wait on you hand and foot. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder. You are very stringent with rules. Very stringent. You have obsessive orderness, an obsessive order about yourself. Everything has to be in its proper way. Everything. You can't have your cup. If your cup is like that, they'll sit up there and they'll put it like that. They'll change. They have about their house. Everything has to be lined up. Everything has to be in certain order. Their cabinets. They have to have salt in a line, pepper in a line. Everything. The labels facing outward.
The ladies, when we had the women Bible study, we saw, did we see the movie Sleeping with the Enemy? And I remember how he always wanted the cabinet, the cans in the cabinet, the labels facing, and the towels in the bathroom had to be at the same level. And if they wasn't, he would beat his wife.
Okay.
Right? Let's get Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 22, verses 13 to 15. Before we go to our first disorder, which is histrionic. Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, depending on how your apocrypha is, chapter 22, verses 13 to 15. All right, let's read that.
Sirach, chapter 22, verse 13. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that hath no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his foolery. Depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with madness. Verse 14, what is heavier than lead, and what is the name thereof but a fool? Sand and salt and a mass of iron is easier to bear than a man without understanding.
Than a man without understanding. So we're going to talk about our histronic disorder. Before we get histronic disorder, let's get Numbers 11 and 1. Let's get Numbers 11 and 1. And this will start us with histrionic. Numbers 11 and 1. And then Alvar is going to speak a little bit on it. All right, Numbers 11 and 1. Read that.
Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. And the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of the Lord burned among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp.
All right, so we're going to go through this first disorder. And understand this, if you're dealing with this, which a lot of you women probably are, you need to be set free from it. Some men too. All right, let's go ahead with that. What you got?
Here's a printout from WebMD. It says, mental health and histrionic personality disorder. Histrionic personality disorder is one of group of conditions called cluster B, or dramatic personality disorder. So Elder went through the different clusters.
Mm-hmm.
People with these disorders have intense, unstable emotions and distorted self-image. For people with histrionic personality disorder, their self-esteem depends on the approval of others and does not arise from a true feeling of self-worth. They have an overwhelming desire to be noticed and often behave dramatically or inappropriately to get attention. The word histrionic means dramatic or theatrical, like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This disorder is more common in women than in men, and usually is inverted by adolescent or early adulthood.
And that's why I said that it's more women than it is men.
Well, yeah, and a lot of women has it because, guess what? We learn it from our mothers. We learn it from whoever is a female figure in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What are some of the symptoms of histrionic personality disorder?
Mm-hmm.
In many cases, people with histrionic personality disorder have good social skills. However, they tend to use these skills to manipulate others so that they can be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
A person with this disorder might also be uncomfortable unless he or she is the center of attention, dress provocative, and or inhabit inappropriately seductive and flirtatious behavior.
So let's understand something really quick. When it says the center of attention, it could be a person standing in the front acting like a complete fool, or it could be somebody just balling. You have to be the center of attention. You're going to get that attention regardless what it is that you do. It's an extreme. So you want somebody to say, oh, that guy's really funny, or what's wrong? Why are you like? It's always attention seeking. Go ahead, sorry.
Shift emotions rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
act very dramatically as though performing before an audience
Mm-hmm.
with exotic emotions and impressions, yet appears to be lack sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
Be overly concerned with physical appearance, consistently seek reassurance or approval, be gullible and easily influenced by others, be excessively sensitive to criticism or disapproval. So, before I read the rest of this, another thing for this personality disorder, what the world calls it, drama queen, drama king.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another name for it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a low tolerance for frustration and be easily bored by routine. Often beginning projects without finishing them or skipping from one event to another.
Mm-hmm.
Not think before acting, make rash decisions, be self-centered and rarely show concern for others.
Mm-hmm.
Have difficulty maintaining relationships, often seem fake or shallow in their dealings with others. Threaten or attempt suicide to get attention.
Mm-hmm. Let's get Proverbs 9:13. Let me get the scripture. Proverbs 9:13. Let's read that.
Proverbs chapter 9, verse 13. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It says, what causes histrionic personality disorder?
Mm-hmm.
The exact cause of histrionic personality disorder is not known. But that's what the world said, but we know what causes.
Right, demons.
Yeah, but many mental health professionals believe that both learned and inherited factors play a role in its development. So like I just said, if we have dramatic parents, mothers, or whoever that's around us or we spend more time with, that's how we're going to act.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. For example, the tendency of histrionic personality disorder to run in family suggested that a genetic
susceptibility
for the disorder might be inherited. However, the child of a parent with this disorder might simply be repeating learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Other environment factors that they might be involved include a lack of criticism or punishment as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Positive reinforcement that is given only when a child completes certain approved behaviors, and unpredictable
Mm-hmm.
attention given to a child by his or her parents.
Mm-hmm. So how you raise your children is very, very important. If you're acting like a basket case, I guarantee you your child's going to be acting the same way. The same way. You have to give praise to your children. If you never give praise to your children, then they're going to grow up. It won't be good. It won't be good. If you're acting like this, and especially you women, because a lot of cases, this is women, and your daughters act the same way, they are going to act the same way.
Yes, they are.
It's
They
a
watch
gift. They watch
everything.
everything that you do. So if you're a basket case and you just can't get right, they're going to be basket cases and can't get right. But I'm going to tell you something. They're going to be worse than you are. They're going to be worse than you are. Go ahead, Michelle.
No, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wanted to say that you have to be mindful, especially the women who have daughters, because if you have situations in your life and you can't handle them, you're crying. It's not only like if you're crying or being emotional, it's even if you are like cursing, like every time something happens and you cursing people out and your kids standing there, they looking up and they watching. It's like how you handle your life, your situations, period. If you are a mother and you have a daughter and if situations come up and you sit down and you think about it, if you're a calm person, you weigh your options, you go in prayer, that's what your child is going to do. When your child grow up, when your child come into certain situations, your daughter will sit there, talk to Yeshua, go into prayer, look for guidance, look into the scriptures. They're going to do what they see you do. 100% of the time. They're learning. They watch us. They watch it when we don't even know that they're watching. So we can cause our daughters to pass through the fire. We can. And for the men, we're not leaving the men out, because if you are a man and you're dealing with this personality disorder, and if things come up like trying to take care of your job or your home or something like that, and if you're the type that curse out your wife and grab your wife and beat your kids, guess what your son is going to be doing? Your son is going to do the same thing. He's going to take care of things. If you the type that yell and curse and walk out, guess what your son is going to do? But he's going to do it better than what you did. Because it's known that whatever sin you commit, it seems like when your children do it, they do it even, even stronger. They do it even worse. So you have to be really careful. And guess what? The Most High gave us these kids as a gift. And we are to take care of our children. If we do not act and raise them up in a certain way, according to the scriptures, we're going to have to answer to that. People on YouTube, you are going to answer accordingly, whether it's good and how you raise your kids into the Bible and you get rewards, or if you raise them up and you cause them to pass through the fire, that reward you're going to get in a lake of fire as well. The Most High is not playing with us with these kids. They're not just here as play toys and something to have fun with. We are responsible for these kids, for these children.
That's true. Histronic personality disorder. You got anything else on it?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So,
you know what? Before you go there, let's go Proverbs 14:1. Proverbs 14:1. Let's read that.
Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands.
The foolish pluck it down with her hands. The foolish woman destroys her house. And your daughters see that you're destroying your house, and that's what they're going to do.
so we grow up to destroy
She's
her.
going to grow up to destroy hers. And in fact, she may not even get one. She may not even get one. She may not even get a household of her own, because ain't nobody going to want to deal with her.
Yeah, that's what
And
we're
she's
talking
not
about.
going to want to deal with anybody. Promiscuous.
That's not good.
Go ahead.
Now, you can get delivered from this demon, but it's work. When situations come about, you just can't spew off and start saying stuff and doing stuff and reacting. It's when a situation come up, you must take some deep breaths and go into prayer. Like the Bible tells us to be slow to speak and quick to hear, quick to listen. So think about your situation. If you cannot come up with an answer on how to handle something, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Go into prayer. Mother is our counselor. Let her show you how to handle a situation. Because I'm going to tell you something. After years and years of dealing with this, eventually, the Holy Spirit is going to get tired of you and going to let you go. Mother's not going to keep dealing with this. And also it says with this people with this disorder, they're like emotional vampires. They will drain you dry. So even if you can deal with a person for so long, after that, you will end up getting rid of this person. Because this person they will drain you dry. This type of person with this personality disorder will cause you your salvation. No matter how much of patience you try to have, how you try to talk to that person, how you try to deal with that person will make your life miserable. Because they can go from happy and talking and smiling one minute to they will change on you and you don't know what happened. You will be tired of being manipulated. They will make you miserable. Now, if a person is dealing with this personality disorder and they truly, truly want to get delivered, they will repent because it's a sin. You know what you're doing, manipulating people. A person knows when they bringing up stuff about themselves, want to be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the center of attention? A higher, the shire, or lower walk. We're not the center of attention. This is not about us. But if you truly, truly want to get delivered, you must repent and change your ways. You must need a mind change and a heart change. You must be mindful of how you're acting in situations with your husband, with your wives, with your children, with friends, people on the job. It's just not with your family. It's contact you have with people, period. You must really, really do the work. And Mother will set you free. The Holy Spirit will set you free. But this is something that deals with, it's your personality. It's a fake soul. It's your mind. At the drop of the hat, you can cry. Or at the drop of the hat, you curse somebody out, you blow up, you know. You're not getting to the wilderness with that. You're not going to go to the New Jerusalem. You're not going to inherit the kingdom. And eventually, we have seen it. We just didn't know what it was at the time. When we saw somebody in a ministry was for 3.5 years, 4 years maybe. And then the deliverance minister, he kicked her out. He said, you got to go.
Yeah.
He put her out. Because he tried for 3 years. The people on the prayer team, like everybody tried to help this person. And this person kept doing the same thing. This person was draining. There was 12 people on the deliverance team. And this person drained everybody. And the deliverance minister, the guy who owned the place, he had to put her out of there. And that's what we call tears. That's where sometimes the people know it and sometimes they don't. Those are the type of people that come to the ministry and they come and they know they're not going to change. And they just wear the people down. They try to wear the person down so they just don't want to pray or do nothing for nobody. So for YouTubers and people here, future deliverance ministers, you have to know and seek and be in prayer on who you're praying for and who you're dealing with. Because when they talk about this personality disorder, they call the people emotional vampires. They will drain you. They would have you not even want to pray to the Most High. That's how bad it gets. And you would have to do something about it. You just can't sit there and let it go. You have to do something about it. Now, like the deliverance minister that where we were at, after so long, after a while trying to help somebody, and there's nothing wrong with it. After a while of trying to help somebody, you got to let them go. Because if not, they're going to hinder you. They're going to hinder your ministry up. And the Most High is going to, he's not going to deal with you no more. Well, Yeshua is not going to deal with you no more. He's just not. And I'm going to tell you, even there with psychologists and psychiatrists, do you know that they can't treat everybody. What they do don't help nobody anyway. But they even get to a point where they tell a patient, like, look, I done tried to help you all I can. I can't help you. You have to find somebody else. Or they'll recommend somebody else for that person to go to. So there's nothing wrong. If you, for people that's out there that's dealing with somebody like that in their ministry now, it's okay to tell them, I can't help you. You got to go somewhere else. It's okay. Yeah.
All right, next one, Peter Pan syndrome. So this one is going to be a while. We have a lot to cover on this one. All right, Peter Pan syndrome. First, let's get some scriptures. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 11 and 12. There's a few scriptures I want to point out before we even start talking about this disorder. Because this disorder, I can guarantee without a shadow of a doubt, every single male has got this disorder. And every single male needs deliverance from this spirit. This is something huge. It's huge. And when we start understanding, when we start going through the symptoms and what this demon does, you're going to understand it. 1 Corinthians 13, 11, and 12. We're going to go through some scriptures first. Let's read it.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Not with the Peter Pan. Read.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face.
Not with Peter Pan. Go ahead.
Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
Not with Peter Pan. Not with this one. Let's go to 1 Timothy 5. No, not 1 Timothy 5 and 8. Let's just do Job 5 and 2. That's a good one. Let's go Job 5 and 2. And ladies, don't think that you're off the hook, because there's a spirit that's attached to this Peter Pan syndrome. And we're going to briefly talk about that. Because you're not exempt. Job 5 and 2. Okay, let's read that.
Job chapter 5 verse 2. For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one.
Wrath kills the foolish one. Envy slayeth it. Okay, we're going to get an understanding of what this spirit is. Let's go 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And let's read verses, let's start at verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 1. First Corinthians chapter 3. One through 4. All right, let's read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 1. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal.
You can't speak to this spirit, spiritual, right? Carnal. Read.
Even as unto babes and Yeshua. I have fed you with milk and not with meat.
You can't teach them anything that's solid. You have to teach them the very basics. You want to get understanding of all this. Read.
For hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able.
Remember that. Not able to bear it. Not able to stand it. Go ahead.
For ye are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal as walk as men? Verse 4. For while one saith, I am of Paul, another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal?
Are you not carnal? Right? Peter Pan disorder. I bet you Superman can beat Batman, but you're a grown man. And you're making these comments. That's a spirit. Let's go to Ephesians 4, 14 and 15. Ephesians 4, 14 and 15. All right, let's read.
Ephesians chapter 4 verse 14. That we henceforth be no more children.
You are no more children. Read.
Tossed to and fro.
Children tossed to and fro. Go ahead.
And carried about with every wind of doctrine.
Everything that comes through. You're like a child and you run right to it. Go ahead.
By the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie and wait to deceive.
They lie and wait to deceive. We're going to get an understanding on this Peter Pan syndrome. Go ahead.
But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things. Which is,
you speak in truth and love, you may grow up. Go ahead.
Which is the head, even Yeshua.
Okay. Speaking truth and love, you may grow up. Not this spirit, If you want to continue to have this spirit, you will never grow up. Right? Let's go Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 8. And then we'll hold there for a second. Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 8. Chapter 10, verse 8. All right, let's read it. Wisdom of Solomon 10.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10, verse 8. For regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness. So that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much as be hid.
The things offend you. You need to grow up. You need to be a man. You need to stop with the video games. You need to stop talking like a child. You need to stop wearing onesie pajamas. Oh, faded pajamas. You need to stop it. You're not a child anymore. Right? You need to stop wearing cartoon characters on your shirt. You need to stop it. But this thing is much more deeper than what I'm bringing out. So, Rob?
Okay. So before we get started, I want to say this. Men, don't get offended. I ask that you all just really open your ears and listen while the information is being presented. You know, think about it. Like, evaluate yourself. You know, see if this you. Because, like we just talked about with the other personality disorder, this will hinder you. It does not matter how you desire to do the will of the Most High, you would never do it. That's like saying this 2-year-old over here is going to do the will of the Most High. She can't do that right now. She's a kid. Her mind doesn't go like that. And that's how it is with your mind. So we're going to start off with 7 signs of Peter Pan syndrome.
I would highly advise that men, you write this down. Ladies, you can write it down too, because there's a side to this Peter Pan syndrome that you play. And let me say this. If there's just like if there's a Jezebel, there's an Ahab. If there's a Peter Pan, there's a Wendy.
Yes, it is.
I can guarantee you that. So ladies, you need to be paying attention to this because you're hindering that thing.
Do you all know who Wendy is? Because we know everybody has seen Peter Pan. Do you all know what role that Wendy played? Anybody know?
She was not like she took care of all the kids. So like a mom.
Kind of, yeah. But not really, because Wendy, well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that when we get to it.
Okay.
We got a lot of stuff to cover on this.
Okay, so have you heard of the term manolescent? It's I can't even say it.
Relatively.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Relatively recent expression, but fairly apt for describing a certain kind of guy, namely one who, like Peter Pan, doesn't want to grow up. So it's not something that this person is dealing with and don't know it. They don't want to grow up. They refuse to grow up. Most of us likely know at least one guy like this, one who is boyishly charming and fun to hang out with, yet totally useless as an adult. In relationship terms, it can be harsh to come to the realization that the man you thought you were dating is really really an avoidant, simpering man-child who refuses to get his stuff together. And relationship, okay, so we're going to go into adults stressing him out. So anytime you all come to your husbands and you want to talk bills or the Most High, like anything, what a man's supposed to do is stresses him out. This guy's addiction to everything fun and light-hearted can be quite endearing at the beginning of a relationship. So you know how you go out with a guy? We always said, I like him, he just makes me laugh. We have so much fun, he's always doing something to make me laugh. You don't realize what we're getting into. As it can make him a real laugh to be with. How may surprise you with a weekend away, drag you out to have a midnight picnic at the zoo, or insist upon chocolate chip pancakes as part of an all-day cartoon marathon. Basically, being with him is great because he helps you to retreat from all the serious grown-up stress and responsibilities that you deal with on a daily basis. Anything sound familiar here, ladies? Maybe. Stress arises when those issues actually need to be dealt with, at which point he gets resentful. He might dismiss these issues outright and insist that they're not all that important, or merely distance himself from the situation by immersing himself in something that's more fun, like online gaming.
So you have a conversation, and all of a sudden he just goes and starts playing a game. Don't sit up there and say, "Nah, I don't know who that is." Yes, you do know who it is. Yes, you do know. Oh, I don't know about that. He's sitting right next to your property. Right? You have a serious conversation, all of a sudden they just go off.
Oh, we do to that part. He
Oh,
could
go
not
ahead,
handle
sorry.
conflict at all. The man suffering from Peter Pan syndrome generally reacts to conflict in one or two ways. Running away, he'll walk or stumble away from the discussion, leave the house, or lock himself in a room where he can distract himself with games or just curl up under a pile of blankets to cry like a toddler for a couple of hours. Retaliation. He'll pitch a fit and bring up things that he thinks or knows will upset you to get back at you for making him feel upset.
To get back at you.
Tantrums are common, as are name calling and or throwing things. Since life is going to have ups and downs and conflicts will be inevitable, you know what I mean. These are the two options you'll be facing with your man-child or of a partner. Excited yet? Y'all excited yet? That was a question. He still dresses like a kid. There's a lot to be said about dressing in a manner that makes you feel good about yourself. But if your partner is 40 and still wearing the same style of clothes he wore when he was a teenager, that's a bit off-putting. Adapting one's favorite style to one's age is fine. Living one's truth is important. And if dude feels happiest in jeans, Converse, and the well-washed shirts he had for 25 years, cool.
There's a problem.
Okay,
There's a huge problem with that.
Okay, he's confident and that can be a good thing. If he refuses to work anywhere that if he refuses to work anywhere that won't allow him to dress like that, or if this kind of outfit is deemed acceptable for weddings, funerals, and the like, That's disturbing.
You know the guy who wears the t-shirt, the tuxedo t-shirts?
Oh, yeah.
Them. Them. It's time to go to a funeral, but this guy has on a tuxedo t-shirt. Right? Immaturity.
So let me say this. Connected to this Peter Pan syndrome, you all may want to write this down. It's a spirit of narcissism, anger, male chauvinist,
I'm going to start showing this. Okay.
yeah. It's CHAUVINISM. That's all right. So we're going to go through the signs of a male chauvinist, because a lot of men hate this, have this spirit and don't know it. With that, I'm going to add, with this one, add a woman hating spirit.
Yeah, question. There's a question.
Oh,
Over there.
yes. What is male chauvinist?
Male chauvinist is a man who thinks women should be barefoot and pregnant and shut up. I tell you to get my beard, you get my beard. I tell you to bring my dinner, you bring my dinner.
They don't think much of it.
You're nothing but a disposal for babies. That's all you're worth. That's a male chauvinist.
Okay, the signs of a male chauvinist. You think it is okay for you to cheat and flirt with other women, but you do not tolerate the idea of your your wife cheating or flirting with other men. You address your wife as you woman with a condescending tone. You feel a woman should be slapped or beaten to teach her a lesson or make her toe the line. To you, she is not worthy of a mature conversation. So you know how women, when you try to talk to your husband and they just sit up there and won't say anything to you? That's what they're really thinking, like, if they dealing with this, you're not even smart enough to even have a conversation with. You feel that feminism is a threat rather than the plight of women trying to correct years of sexist injustice. You are intimidated by a woman's success. You feel a woman mustn't earn more than you. That's the whole workplace, because the men get paid more than the women. You are convinced a man is always right and women don't know what they are talking about. You intimidate your wife to the point she becomes defensive in her own home, or her voice is silenced.
Wendy.
You feel you are entitled to pursue your dreams and goals, but a woman should shove hers to take care of you and your children. Whether you marry her, when you marry her, or if you keep her in your idea of come, we stay in all your choice, you are convinced you have the final say. Hers is to just extort you in life. And I can see how that happened, because man who knows the Bible, and it says the man is the head of the woman, they feel like that they just make all the decisions and the woman just posts okay to whatever they say. And that's not true. Yes, the woman is weaker than the man, but we are still equal. We all have our roles that we have to do. But his way is not always just his way. You have to sit down and reason together and come with the best solution.
But not with this guy.
No, his way is always right.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife should tell you where she is at, and who she is with, but you find it beneath you to be equally accountable to her. So he can go out and just do whatever he wants, but when you go out, he doesn't know where you at, what you're doing, who you with. You reduce a woman to, I'm gonna say it. You reduce a woman to boobs, butt, and thighs. You see her a sex object or a pretty thing to have around you, that you don't see the depth of her spirit, mind, and heart. You feel there are conversations you can't have with women. What do they know? You tell your wife, this talk is not for you when you're cheating with your boys. I'm sorry, when you're chatting with your boys. You would rather educate your boy child than your girl child. During sex, it's all about what your wife can do for you, not you both, or you enjoying the pleasure. You feel it is not your responsibility to keep the home together. Chores are beneath you. When you do any little things at home, you make a big deal out of it as if you're doing your wife a favor, not realizing the home is the responsibility of both the husband and the wife. Mm-hmm. You give your wife orders instead of requesting her. Mm-hmm. You speak to your wife as if she is your employee, not your life partner that you are one with. You see no need to involve your wife in decisions, but you must have a say in hers, and your say is final. Mm-hmm. You interrupt the phrase head of the family as a ticket to be a dictator instead of a functioning role or leadership and service. Mm-hmm. I really not read. You blow your own trumpet as a man, but belittle a woman's achievement.
That's part of that narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't consider groping a woman, stalking a woman to her discomfort. Using your power to make sexual demands, raping a woman is a big deal. Now, we have seen some groups that kind of deal with that. When they say it's okay, they brag about raping a woman, it's a big deal, it's okay. You selfishly take the parts of culture that suits your chauvinistic agenda, even if they bring down a woman. Yes, gentlemen, a lot of the culture, some of us proudly subscribe to, were started by chauvinistic men who came before us. Just because something has been practiced for years doesn't mean we blindly continue it.
You see all these men and these sexual allegations that are coming up, and it seems like every week there's a new person with sexual allegations come up, because it goes back to that old way of thinking where I'm the man and this is a woman and her opinion means nothing, but her boobs and her butt mean everything. So I can grab her boobs, I can grab her butt, I can do all of that, and because I'm a man, nothing can be said about it. Well, ask Bill Cosby, how's that going for him right now? Ask Matt Liner, or whatever his name is, Lawler, how's that going for him right now? R. Kelly.
And I think there was,
urinating on people. How is that going for you right now?
what's that lyrical,
Right?
the one with the
Mr.
Air Force One.
Pudding Pop.
What's his name?
Ask him how's it going right now.
He was accused of rape.
Right? How's that going right now for you?
Yep.
It all goes back to this syndrome. This syndrome is much more complex than what we perceive when we speak of. When we first hear of Peter Pan, you're thinking a man who's acting like a child. But it's much more deeper than that. Much more deeper than that.
Okay, let me finish
Got a
this
question?
up.
I'll finish that up.
It says, be your own man. Treat the woman as you want her to treat you. After we answer this question, Azarius is going to start reading.
What's your question?
So does everyone that has the Peter Pan syndrome have this male chauvinist spirit?
Probably. More than likely, yes.
A part of this Peter Pan syndrome is that, yes, they do, because a lot of them, the first thing they say when you're married and you marry long enough, they be like, you're not my mother, you're acting like my mama. And because things are starting to sit in, and
Ever heard that before, ladies? You acting like my mama.
if you haven't stayed tuned, it's gonna come up. What it is that they don't want to be in a real relationship where you deal with issues, so they start skipping from woman to woman. They only see women as sex objects. So they go out and they start they fornicate, or because they marry, so they commit adultery. And what that does is they start going from woman to woman and they having sex, but there's no emotional attachment there. They don't have to love that woman. They don't have to deal with the rent at the first of the month. They don't have to deal with car payments. So they just go out and they just go from woman to woman. That's where it says you see a woman as the booty, the butt, and the breast, the thighs. Yeah.
So every one of these symptoms that were produced, narcissist, male chauvinist, anger, and I forgot what the fourth one was.
And
Women
also,
hating. Well, the women hating the male chauvinist, that's pretty much the
domestic
same thing.
violence. Yep, domestic violence, retaliation. Okay, so I want him to show that book. We recommend that you all pick this book up. It's a Peter Pan syndrome. And who is it by?
Dr. Dan Kiley.
I highly suggest you all get this book. And let me tell you all something before you read this. Yeah, we're talking to the married people, but let me tell you this. Women, because you're the ones that's not married, does not mean this information is not important. You all should be taking notes. You all should be trying to get an understanding, because you need to know who you're marrying. You need to be able to discern what type of man before you get married to this man and start going through these things. If deliverance have to come about, then that's what you do. But you all need to pay attention as well.
He has on an Iron Man t-shirt, but he got fringes on it. Right? Like,
We have seen it.
You an Israelite, right? Yeah, I'm rocking Israel. But you see him and he got fringes on a Flash t-shirt. Right? You see this, and
That's serious, like.
and he's like, yeah, I'm in the truth too, and all this other garbage and all this other mess and madness that he's going to be bringing. He's going to be bringing all this. So even he got on fringes, so he should be good. No,
That brother's in the truth.
he got on a Flash t-shirt and he got fringes on it. No, you gotta run away.
You decided to have a class.
No, you're trying to get out of that Flash. You're trying walking around with a Batman t-shirt with fringes on it.
I'm representing
I
Batman.
represent Batman. Ain't nothing wrong with Batman.
See, ladies, that's when your discernment needs to kick in. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. This brother's packing a lot of stuff. Hey, there's some things need to be worked out before we get together.
Right. Let's read.
Please read.
Alright.
It's from the Peter Pan Syndrome, Men Who Never Grow Up. Chapter 1, Do You Know This Man-Child? Identifying this man-child is a three-step process. It is designed to be objective. Consequently, it has a rather impersonal quality, much like a psychology textbook used to learn about the classic case. First, define your observational ground. This ground includes your home, your neighborhood, your workplace, and anywhere else you spend a significant amount of time. Wherever you come in close contact with other people is where you will ultimately see this person. You might see him at a party, at a neighborhood gathering, at a family picnic, or in the office next to yours. If you are a sensitive parent, you may see a miniature man-child at the dinner table. If you are a woman in love, you might seek him in your bed. If you are a thoughtful male, you may even spot him in the mirror.
Look at yourself. Alright?
The victim's social profile. Age 18 to 22. Denial flourishes as narcissism and chauvinism dominate behavior. Age 23 to 25. Acute crisis period during which victims may seek help, complaining of a vague but all-inclusive dissatisfaction with life, often interpreted as normal by doctors and therapists. Socioeconomic level, middle to upper class. Appearance. He is seen as personable and likable by people who don't know him very well.
Life of the party.
Yeah, make you laugh. You laugh so hard till your stomach has cramps in it.
He has an irradiating smile and gives an excellent first impression. Financial status. Younger victims are rarely self-supporting. In their early 20s, they still live at home or live hand-to-mouth, getting money from parents or other sources. Older victims may be financially secure, but not feel as if they are. They are often stingy, except when it comes to their own indulgences. Marital status. Younger victims under 25 are usually single. They date women younger than they are, or whose actions suggest immaturity. Once married, these women often find themselves having to keep the victim on the straight and narrow. The victim usually prefers his buddies to his family. Education. Younger victims flirt with a college education, finding it difficult to decide what they want to study.
Now, see, ladies, let me give you a word of advice for those who are in college. You got a guy who's been in college for 6, 7, 8 years. That's a telltale sign. Something's wrong. Something is very wrong. 8, 9, 6, 7, and they're not even at a point where they can get a PhD or not even a bachelor's. They go to community school for 4, 5, 6, 7 years in community college
And never finish.
and can't figure out what they want to do. I would not recommend that type of person.
Ladies, you gotta use your discernment when you're looking at these men and their husbands. You must do it.
Yeah, I've been going to Australia now for, this is my 5th year right now.
Oh, you better run.
And I'm still taking my electoral.
You better run.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was gonna do psychology, but then I started wanting to do cooking. But then after cooking, I wanted to do nursing. But then after nursing, I wanted to do computer programming. And now I just can't figure it out. But girl, you look good, right?
He's so handsome. He's so cute.
Nice and dicey, fired up, and then in the shy. Go ahead.
They rarely finish college in the usual allotted time. Older victims have achieved some education but are dissatisfied. They believe they should have done more. Victims are usually seen as underachievers. Work history. Younger victims have a very shaky work history. They work only when under pressure. They want a career but don't want to work at it. They're easily offended by jobs that they see as beneath them. They get into employment difficulty because of severe procrastination. Older victims go to the opposite extreme. They become workaholics in an attempt to prove their worth. They have unrealistic expectations of themselves, their co-workers, and their bosses. They are nagged by the thought that they haven't found the right job. The third step in the identification process is assuming the role of a psychological detective. Once the social profile has helped you recognize the victim's outer life, use this psychological profile to evaluate his inner life.
Okay, ladies, y'all hear that, right? I know the ones there, you like, man, I should have been this shit came up a long time ago. That's okay. It's up now. That's all that matters. It came out now. We have a question on the chat before he goes back.
All right, what's the question?
Someone says, can men have a Jezebel spirit? And if so, can a woman have a spirit of Peter Pan?
The answer to your question is no and no. Reason being is because of Jezebel. A man cannot have a Jezebel spirit because of the fact that the men were given authority in the first place.
Right.
A Jezebel spirit looks for authority. A Jezebel spirit looks to dominate the man, destroy the man in any way, shape, form possible. So that's what the Jezebel spirit does. Can a woman have a Peter Pan spirit? No. A woman cannot have a Peter Pan spirit, but there is a spirit attached to Peter Pan, which we have not talked about yet, that's Wendy. And we're going to talk about Wendy in a moment. So there is a spirit that's attached to that Peter Pan. And we're going to identify and we're going to give an understanding of what that spirit is with Wendy. But the answer to your question, no, a man cannot have a Jezebel spirit. Because Yeshua put the man over the woman. The Jezebel spirit is about control, it's about domination, it's about taking over the man. But the man has an Ahab spirit. The Ahab spirit is submissive to the Jezebel spirit.
Like Wendy is submissive to the Peter Pan spirit.
Correct. All right, so I pray that answers your question. All right, but where we at?
The victim's psychological profile. Mother hang-up. Anger and guilt cause an overwhelming ambivalence toward mother. Victims want to pull free of her influence but feel guilty every time they try. When they are with their mothers, there is a tension in the air, punctuated by moments of sarcasm, followed by moments of reactive sweetness. Younger victims elicit pity from their mothers to get what they want, especially money. They will argue with flashes of rage and then apologize with sustained silliness. Older victims feel less ambivalence and more guilt because of the pain they caused their mothers. The victim is provoked to anger or even rage by a woman's assertiveness or independence. He needs a female to be dependent upon him so that he can feel he is protecting her. In truth, he feels impotent to deal with an assertive female on equal footing, so he puts her beneath him. He longs to share his sensitivity with a woman, but denies this side of his personality for fear that his friends will see him as weak and unmanly.
You ever see where out with a crowd of friends and the woman says, I love you, and he says, yeah, I know.
Me too.
Me too. And the boys are just looking like, You gonna say something? Right? Can't do that. Can't hug because you may think that your boys will say that you are pee-whipped. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. That you're whipped. Right? Go ahead.
Okay, so we're gonna take the, at this time, for the men here and the men on YouTube, we're going to do a Peter Pan syndrome test. And it's a number of questions, and this is how you're gonna answer them. Let's see. So a rating of 0 signifies that this behavior never occurs. So 0 means, so write the number 0, and it's going to mean that this behavior never occurs.
And so when she asks the question, it's going to be rated 0, 1, and 2. 0 means never.
Okay. 1 signifies that this behavior occurs sometimes. And 2 means that it always happens.
And why are we spending the majority of the night on this is because the men are the head.
Yes.
And if you are the head, but every time something comes up, you check out, that's a problem. Your family is, you know what, let's get, before we go there, let's get 2 Timothy 2:22. 2 Timothy 2:22. Let's read that.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace, with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart.
I want the next verse. Get the next verse.
Verse 23. But foolish and unlearned questions avoid.
Avoid, right? That's what they do. They avoid any type of questions, read.
Knowing that they do gender strife.
Knowing that they're going to bring up arguments. And that's what that thing does. So verse 23 is the reverse on how that man operates. He knows that he's going, if there's questions that the wife has, he knows that spirit knows that it's going to start gender strife, meaning arguments with your wife or arguments with your wife.
So ladies here and ladies on YouTube, just put yes on the chat, or the women here that's married. How about every time you get ready to talk something serious with your husband, you tell him what the issue is, and he say, what about you? Let me know by show of hands. It's not that many here, but who have heard that before? What about you? And they start bringing up what you're doing. But at this time, it's about them, and what they're doing, and what's going on with them. But they always try to put it back on you. And they say, what about you? Show of hands. I throw both my hands. But yeah, even if you all have dated, it's not just married people. Before you all came into this truth, you did. Oh my goodness. Then she's talking about her dad. But yeah, I mean, it's always put back on you, and the argument is started, like to change the subject. And then they escape. They run out. They escape. Okay, so we have a question on the chat before he reads that.
Okay.
I mean, before we go to the test. It says, someone says, would an example be you telling a man he needs to grow up, and he gets mad and tell you that you need to grow up?
Yes. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And
If he's acting immature, let's get first Timothy 5:8. If he's acting immature, and you're telling him, okay, you need to grow up, you need to stop doing what you're doing, and they come back and say, well, you need to grow up. Yes, that is a sign of a man dealing with Peter Pan syndrome. Without a question. If they're combating you with what you have told them, right? Then yes, that's a sign of the Peter Pan syndrome. They need deliverance from that, most definitely. Okay. Let's read 1 Timothy 5:8. Read that.
1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8.
Mhm.
But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
that's that spirit.
That's that spirit.
Infidel.
That's what it is. When a woman is saying you need to grow up, you need to step up and be the man of the house, and the man tells you, well, what about you? Why you can't grow up? Why don't you be the woman of the house, right?
Stay-at-home dads. What is that about? A stay-at-home. So you send your wife out to work and you stay at home with the kids. Really?
Right. Okay? And the reason why we're focusing so much on this syndrome is because the males lead the house. And if the male is leading the house with the Peter Pan syndrome, then yes, you're going to be cooking chocolate chip pancakes with banana faces on it, right? While he's playing video games with his Batman fringes on and his foot in pajamas.
Superman, Batman.
All the time, you're sitting there as a woman with the women's syndrome, and you are agreeing with this.
But the thing about it is that the woman is agreeing Wendy syndrome.
But
they're secretively hating you men.
him.
They hating their husband. They want to bash his head in. It gets bad.
But yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's get to the test.
Okay, the first, so remember you're using 0 for never, 1 for sometimes, and 2 is for always.
Right.
Okay, the first one is when he makes a mistake, he overreacts.
Oh, no, wait. Women can take this too.
Yeah, you have to take it.
You can take it too. In fact, it's not encouragement. I'm telling you you should take it. Those of you women on YouTube who are live streaming, you should take this as well to see what type of spouse you have. If you are in a relationship before the marriage, right? Because you can have a relationship before the marriage. You got to. You need to take this also to see who your future husband is. And ladies, if you dealt with somebody in the past, right? Take it. See. Go ahead.
Okay, when he makes a mistake, he overreacts either exaggerating his guilt or searching for excuses to absolve himself of any blame. He forgets important dates. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe that's what he had answered.
Give him a second.
He forget important dates, anniversary, and birthdays. Well, we should be celebrating those anyway, but at a party, he...
Hold on, let him answer.
It's
Give him a
different.
second.
Oh, I gotta think.
What? All right. Next question. At a party, he ignored you, but he does his best to impress other people especially women. 0, 1, or 2. And those live streaming with us, ladies, men, you should take this also.
Be honest with yourself.
Correct. The next question. He finds it almost impossible to say, I'm sorry. You never hear him say, I'm sorry. Never apologetic. Okay. Next one. He expects you to have sexual intercourse when he's ready, giving little thought to your need for foreplay. No foreplay whatsoever for you. Nothing. You take care of me. Right? That's what he's saying. The next one is he goes out of his way to help his buddies, his friends, but fails to do the little things you ask him to do. Pick up your socks, take out the garbage. Doesn't do it. But his friend needs him to move a 5-bedroom apartment. And he's got the truck and he's gone.
On time. He's on time.
Mm-hmm.
Before time. What we did something over there. What's going on?
All right. So the next one is he expresses concern for you and your problems and feelings only after you have complained about it.
Ooh, I see those kids moving.
Only after he complained about it, only after you complained about it, does he express concerns. Okay? The next one is he initiates an activity or an outing only if it's something he wants to do.
I think we're going to have some prayer after hearing that after this.
The next one, he seems to find it extremely difficult to express his feelings. A few years ago, I did 2 on all these.
I'm up there laughing because I'm just like, I'm all praises for deliverance. I'm telling you. Wow.
All right, the next one. He yearns to be close to his father, but any conversation with his dad is stylish, ceremonial, or lacking in depth. Did you get the picture?
Yes, you do.
Oh, sterile. No feelings. It's a conversation with his dad. No feelings, no emotion, no nothing. It's almost a ritual.
A business-like conversation.
Right.
But let me tell you, I'm saying it again. For you single ladies now, you all must pay attention, because if you take this information and you understand it and you keep it, so when this young man comes to approach you, or you like getting to know somebody, you will see this. You won't get married and then you'll be like, the Most High must hate me to let me marry this man. I'm telling you, you all really need to pay attention.
Right.
You really do.
All right, the next one. He doesn't listen well to opinions that differ from his own.
Woo!
If you have an opinion about something and it differs from what he knows, he's going to really insult you.
Oh yeah, and if you feel like you have a preschool education.
Right. Okay, the next one. He has uncalled flashes of rage during which he refuses to calm down. Burst of rage.
He may go off on you about something, or he may punch a wall and walk out, break something.
Yes.
Just,
Is that kind of like throwing a temper tantrum?
Yes.
yes.
All right, the next one is he is intimidated by the wishes of his mother to the point that you become upset with her for being so demanding.
Now, we're not saying everything may fit everybody, but just evaluate yourself and see what pertains to you.
Okay. The next one, he believes he's employed with the wrong capacity, but fails to do anything about it but complain. He feels like he's not making enough on the job, but he fails to do anything about it. Just wants to complain. All right, the next one is he is devoid of sincerity and warmth in relating to other people. No sincerity, no warmth towards anybody. All right. The next one is he has a problem with alcohol. When he drinks, his personality changes. He demonstrates a hair-triggered temper, false bravado, or exaggerated gaiety. A hair-triggered temper is basically something very minor.
Like you can't say
Sets them off.
Yeah, you can't talk
Right.
to them about anything.
False bravado is that I am man. You know, my poop don't stink. Yeah, we'll get into that with narcissistic. Exaggerated gaiety, he's always bragging about himself, bragging about what he does, bragging about the job, bragging about how great he washes the car, just bragging about everything. And speaking of that, no, we're going to finish this test first. Okay. Next one, he feels he must not miss any fun or event with the boys, but goes beyond rational limits in order not to be left out. We have a few more to go. 3 more to go. Next one, he expresses a chauvinistic attitude. I want my wife to work as long as the house is clean. That's a chauvinistic attitude. Or she is going to stay barefoot and pregnant. Chauvinist attitude. She is beneath me in everything. Chauvinist attitude. The only time that we're equal is when we're laying in the bed. No, I mean
Not
equal,
even-
like the equal sign,
Oh.
laying next to each other.
Oh, I
That's
was
the
gonna
only
say,
time.
I was gonna say, cause it's about serve me, I'm mad.
Right. That's the only time that we're equal, if we're laying down side by side like the equal sign. Other than that, right?
Wow.
Next question. He appears to have unexplained fears and lacks self-confidence but refuses to talk about it. He has fears and he doesn't have confidence in himself, but he's not going to tell you that. He's not going to mention that.
Even though you can see it, you can smell it on him, so he will not admit to it.
All right, next one. He accuses you of getting too emotional, while he appears to be above it all. When you get angry, he sits there like a stone. No movement, right? All right, so that's the end. That's the end of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to add up your total. And then we're going to tell you your score. Then we're going to tell you what you got as far as the scores. So add up the numbers you have selected for each behavioral description. And we're about to see what degree of affliction you have. So take a moment. Those of you on YouTube, or those of you who are live streaming, add up your results as well. And we'll tell you we'll give you the verdict. Right? Tomorrow's teaching is going to be on Hell Part 2. We didn't finish that, so we're going to finish that tomorrow. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a lesson on distraction. All right. So let's go ahead and get the scores. From 0 to 10, you are not a Peter Pan syndrome victim. Your problems tend to be isolated and not very serious. If there is if there's a bothersome situation, talk with him about it or talk about it with. Most likely it can be resolved with a spirit of love and cooperation. So 0 to 10, you're not a Peter Pan syndrome victim. That's only the truth about it. 11 to 25, the Peter Pan syndrome is definitely a threat. Follow the instructions outlined after this test, and if you are a woman, be prepared to evaluate yourself. There are steps you can take to improve the situation, but the higher the score within this category, the harder you must be willing to work. That's 11 to 25. 26 to 40, the Peter Pan syndrome is functioning. If the man won't seek help for his problems, you should probably talk to a professional about what you can do to cope with this situation. And it talks about going into your own role. Okay? All right, so 0 to 10, not a Peter Pan victim. However, let me say this also. Anything that's 5 to 10, there's still a characteristic there.
It's a possibility.
There's still a possibility there. All right, there's still something there. 11 to 25, definitely there's a good chance of a Peter Pan syndrome. 26 to 40, more than likely. And let me say this too, because if I would have took this test years ago, I would have probably scored higher than a 40. If I'm being honest, I probably would have scored higher than a 40. I don't think you can score higher than a 40.
No, but
I would have been in the 26 to 40 range, to be being honest. It's not about trying to cover yourself or anything like that. It's about being set free.
yeah,
Because if you have this thing, you won't make it.
no.
I guarantee you, you won't make it, and your family won't make it. So it's about getting set free. All right, take another look at the test. The higher the score, the more carefully you should evaluate the seriousness of each trait you felt was present. Every single trait, if you put a 2 or a 1, that's something serious that you really need to look at. Okay? You can use a thorough review of the test as a blueprint for future change. Here's your next step. On a piece of paper, set up 3 columns with headings: never, sometimes, and always. Go through the test again. Only this time, think back over the last 6 months and as accurately as possible each trait in the appropriate column. Here's how a 33-year-old wife completed the blueprint for change. Never. Okay, under the never category, she has flirts, don't listen, flashes of rage, cold relationships. Okay, that's what she put as far as never. Sometimes, no foreplay, forgets dates, selfish about outings, drinking problem, won't miss fun, chauvinistic, denies having fears. Always overreacts to mistakes. No, I'm sorry, helps his buddies, told to care, intimidated by his mother, underemployed, no feelings expressed, distant from his father, he's above it all. According to the person who should know, this man scored a 25 on the test. The overview? No. Let's go to let's read about. Let's go. No, 1 Corinthians 14:20.
We pray this is helping people here and the people on YouTube. We pray this is helping answering questions that you have had.
Correct. So join us next week. We're not done because we still have another disorder to go through, narcissistic personality disorder. Next week is a very important week. I would highly advise that not only the people who normally join us on YouTube, but get some people, grab some people, and get them in front of the screen with you. Those who are here, if you know someone, bring them. We're going to talk about schizophrenia that we're going to bring forth schizophrenia like it has never been brought before. We're going to use the Bible, of course, but we're going to talk about schizophrenia. And like I said before, everyone has some type of trait of schizophrenia in you. Everybody. A lot of people, it's very, very mild. Other people, they're standing on the street corner like a statue. Okay, that's a form of schizophrenia. So, and how to get delivered from schizophrenia. We're going to really talk on schizophrenia next week. That's a very important lesson that we need to get an understanding. So those of you who are live streaming with us, give the channel to somebody if they're in another town and tell them schizophrenia. You know, everybody knows somebody is affected with someone who has schizophrenia. Okay, so make sure that you are here next week for schizophrenia. The Holy Spirit is really putting this thing together. Before we get to the book, what's the question online?
Someone says, with the Peter Pan syndrome, can it be passed through generation, or does it happen because there was a hindrance on the parent's part as a child?
No, it's generational. Because if the son sees the dad as a Peter Pan syndrome victim, the son is going to imitate what his father does. He's going to imitate it. My father, I know for a fact, had a huge Peter Pan syndrome. And there was a lot of the things that my father did that I emulated. And thus I had a Peter Pan syndrome. Because I thought that that was the way that a man's supposed to operate. Which in fact was incorrect. It was wrong. So can a Peter Pan spirit be inherited? Yes. Without a question. Without a question.
I saw it growing up with my uncle and my cousin. Like, all the women in my family went out and worked and they did things, but my uncles and my cousins, they barely had, the males, the men, they didn't have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the women took care of them and bought them things. If they did do anything, they would go to like one of the auntie's house and they'd help her clean up. And the auntie would pay them. And
House
then,
niggas.
yep, and they would go and take that money and buy alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a cousin who's like maybe 56 now.
Probably.
And let me tell you something. Out of his 56 years, he has had maybe 3 jobs. He's 56 and he still goes from house to house cleaning up, and they pay him. And then he'd be gone for a couple of days because he used drugs. He had a girlfriend and 3 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and she, for 15 years, he wouldn't work. She had a car that she purchased from my auntie, and he was supposed to take the 3 kids to school. His children, his blood children.
Right.
But guess what? They lived in the same house and everything, but he would charge his girlfriend, who he had 3 kids by who they all lived together. She paid the rent. He would charge her to take his own kids to school. I have never seen nothing. And but guess what? Wendy paid him.
Wendy paid him.
She did it. But one day she got tired. That's why I said, women, you will get tired. She left him. He left home. She had to plan this because while he was gone, she moved everything out, left the dog tied to the stove, and he never knew where she moved to.
Mm-hmm.
She left him. She escaped.
But it took Wendy 15 years to do that.
Yep. 3 kids, 15 years. It did.
All right, so I pray that answers your question. Let's read the
book. Go to the book.
no 1 Corinthians 14:20. Let's read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 20. Brethren, be not children in understanding. Howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men.
Understanding be men. Don't sit up there and be a child. Scripture says in malice, right? Temper tantrums.
There you go.
That's what the Bible is saying. Men should not be having temper tantrums. Little infants have temper tantrums. Toddlers have temper tantrums. Grown men does not look well to be having temper tantrums. And what do I mean by that? She always asking me to do something. That's a temper tantrum. Men should not be operating like that. She always telling me to do this. She always telling me to do that. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I'm hungry.
What?
Right? We laugh, but this is serious. You know, we make light of certain things, but this is a very serious syndrome that not too many people know about unless you're in the psychology world.
Well,
Not even then.
Because I studied psychology for 5 years. I never heard of this. You know who taught me this? The Holy Spirit. Mothers. Because I'm like, what are our men going through? Like, what are they dealing with? Because we have tried so many different like Bible studies and scriptures, and we prayed, and nothing was working. And I'm like, what is going on? So Elder and I went into prayer, and Mother, the Holy Spirit, who is our counselor, our comforter, she counseled us, and she showed us what our men are going through, what they're dealing with, and she also gave us a little bit more to show us what we as women, as wives, go through as well. So,
Okay, let's read this. Let's get an overview on Peter Pan.
Have you stopped to consider why Peter wanted to stay young? Sure, it's tough to grow up, but Peter Pan avoided it vehemently. What made him reject all things adult? What was he really after? Is it as simple as it sounded? Was not Peter's desire to stay young actually a militant refusal to grow up? If so, what was his problem or problems? A careful and thoughtful reading of Barry's original play opened my eyes to a chilling reality. As much as I want to believe the contrary, Peter Pan was a very sad young man. His life was filled with contradictions, conflict, and confusion. His world was hostile and unrelenting. For all his gaiety, he was a deeply troubled boy living in an even more troubling time. He was caught in the abyss between the man he didn't want to become and the boy he could no longer be. Oh, this is narcissism.
Narcissism.
Oh, before we go there, I'll tell you something. So Elder and I last weekend, or was it Monday or Sunday? We actually watched the movie Peter Pan with, what's his name, Robert Williams. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, we have seen this movie like years back, but watching this as like spiritually,
The movie Hook.
it was like, wow. What happened was when it first came on, they was like at a play. And when the girl at one point in the play went to kiss the guy who played Peter Pan, he like pulled back. You know how like a grown-up man would be intimate with a woman, but as a child, as a girl trying to kiss a little boy, he's like, ew, he'd pull back. This is what he did. At one point, it showed Peter Pan as a baby, and his mother was sitting in a park, I guess, like with her mother. Mm-hmm. And they were discussing, oh, when Peter grows up, he's going to do this, he's going to go to Yale, and like to college and all this. But even as he was in the stroller, the wind blew and stopped blowing him away, because it was like he was hearing them making plans for his life as a man, what he's going to do. And he ran like the stroller, the wind pushed him away. And then that's when it showed him as, let's see, when he didn't want to grow up, he was a little boy. And that's when he left like the Neverland, and he flew and he met this little girl whose name was Wendy. And Wendy was little at the time, so he would come back every often so many years to visit her, but he never grew old. But she grew old. She became an old woman. But instead of her telling him, okay, Peter, it's time to grow up, she still, Wendy, enabled him and that fantasy and helping him not to grow up. But when he came to visit her and she was an old lady, and she said, I can't fly with you, I can't go to Neverland anymore, he saw her granddaughter in the bed. And that's when he kissed her, and he stayed there. He grew up. She kind of adopted him. That's where it came from. Like, she took her, all the kids, you know, who was orphanages or something, like their parents weren't around.
Perfect segue to that.
Yeah, I'm going to get to this. And what happened was he grew up, and more than anything he ever wanted was a family. Now, he didn't want to grow up, he didn't want to become a man, but he wanted children. He wanted kids. But he didn't want to grow up. So who's going to take care of these kids? With the Peter Pan syndrome, it's like a kid, when you give them a new toy, like when we bring toys in or bring something in for the toddler here, she gets them and she plays with them and she has fun with them. And after a while, she loses interest. So even in the Peter Pan movie, he had these kids, when they was babies, he was so excited, he played with them, he went to their plays, but as they got older and he started working, see, at home he had to be a man, he had to deal with these issues. But at work, when he was leaving work, It was a crowd of people. Yay, Peter, you're doing a good job. He was telling jokes. They was making him feel like a kid. He was happy again. But when he went home, wife and kids, they had to deal with this. He stopped going to the baseball games. He stopped being, a father. He stopped taking care of what he should take care of. And before he read that, I'm going to go into the Wendy syndrome, caring for others and neglecting yourself. It is important that we take care of ourselves in order to be able to care for other people and other responsibilities. If we don't do so, our health could be affected. When speaking about the Wendy syndrome, many people think that the description of this behavior given by popular psychology is somewhat outdated and typical of past generations of our mothers and grandmothers. But nothing is further from reality. The need to care for our partners, of giving them our all, and of putting their needs before our own is something that is viewed as normal today. There are many people who make the mistake of loving too much and thereby losing their own self-esteem. It is important to limit this to be balanced. You can adore your partner, give a lot of love to your parents or friends, but you must never go to the extreme and forget your own needs and overlook your own personal growth. Today in this article, we will address the topic and find out a little bit more about the Wendy syndrome. The Wendy syndrome, the perfect woman for a Peter Pan. Do you remember the personality of Wendy, Darling, and Peter Pan from the famous book by James B. Barrie? Peter is a young boy that refuses to grow up, that does not want to have the responsibility of an adult, and above all, looks to live a life of adventure without ever having to enter the realm of stability and maturity. Peter Pan, therefore, despite all those rather immature men, unable not only to be responsible for their own life, but also that of others. And what about Wendy, darling? She is that young girl who from the first day becomes the shadow of Peter, so she will not lose him again, who worries about cleaning the house, about taking care of the lost children, who give everything for others because that is how she is happy. Now let's see what characteristics usually define people with the Wendy syndrome. You ready, ladies? They feel the need to provide care, to tend to others, because in this way they feel that they are making other people happy. They put the needs of others above. Oh, y'all gonna write them down? Let me know if I need to repeat them.
And then you want to explain that a little.
I need to explain that? They feel the need to provide care, to tend to others, because in this way they feel that they are making other people happy. So remember, this is like a mother or grandmother feeling, like you just want to see everybody happy. You want everything to run smoothly, no confrontation. So you try to be everything to everybody. No matter, to the point where you won't even take a shower. You're running around, taking people everywhere, dropping people off, cooking for people, cleaning up. Like you just put everything. You don't even comb your hair, brush your teeth. You do nothing for yourself. Taking care of your children. Like you just don't have, you have time to do stuff for everybody else but yourself. Now think about that. They put the needs of others above their own, well, we just said that, and then they begin to sacrifice their own desires and even the things that are important to them. So ladies, you get married and you're going to school or you have a job or something like that, and things change at home. And instead of you sitting down with your husband and you're reasoning together to do things on certain dates or certain things, because you got a job, you like your job, you're going to school, you like going to school. So instead of working 2 to 3 days a week, or instead of you just continue to go to school, take online classes, or go to school 2 days a week, you just sacrifice the whole thing. You quit your job, you stop going to school, you just completely sacrifice your happiness. Sound familiar to anyone? Let's see here. For these people, giving care is a way of offering love, and therefore they do it freely. And because they love them, no one makes them care for others. However, they often become attached to a partner with Peter Pan syndrome, that is, immature men who don't want to care for anything, who do not want to be responsible, and who are comfortable with having a partner to take over responsibilities for everything, including their children. So that's the end of that with the, wait, that's not. Okay, we have 2 more. People with the Wendy syndrome have a lot of fear. So with this, ladies, a spirit of fear. Above all these 2 things, that other people will stop needing them and they will be left alone. People pleasing. The idea of not having anyone to take care of terrifies them, because this is the way in which they feel useful and offer their love. At the same time, thanks to this, they see themselves as valuable and necessary. It is vital to keep in mind an important aspect. It is possible that caring for and helping others will make you happy, but the time will come when you realize that others could be manipulating you, or that you are giving others will. Okay, let me start over. It is vital to keep in mind an important aspect. It is possible that caring for and helping others will make you happy, but the time will come when you realize that others could be manipulating you, or that you are giving too much with nothing in return. So ladies, that's when it comes about when we say, you don't appreciate me, you don't appreciate the things that I do. The day may come when you feel frustrated and undervalued, and this is when the problem arises. You must be careful so that this behavior does not result in a possible depression. Caring for yourself and also taking care of others. Should you perhaps stop caring for others or worrying about our loved ones? Not at all. Never do that. Our partners, our families, and especially our children are those people who form a major part of our life, that identify who we are and that are indisputable pillars in our daily lives. Now then, in all our personal relationships, it is important to maintain a balance and to keep clearly in mind these aspects. Never forget the importance of developing your own personal growth, or having your own space, your hobbies, or defining your values of caring for your self-esteem. So, if you're a woman and you're married, it's okay if you want to have some things to do for yourself. Because let's think about it. Our husbands go to work every day. We're just stuck in the house with kids. If you wanted to take a class, if you wanted to do something for yourself, to keep your mind active, to edify yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not, as you and your husband must talk about it and come to an agreement. If he's a man of the Most High, he understands that you need something, because he gets to go out to work. You're just, we're the hearts of our home. We're the emotional parts of our home. And sometimes, even Yeshaya, after delivering people and praying for people, he went to the Mount of Olives and he prayed to the Father. He had to step away, to get himself built back up. So it's okay to do stuff like that. You're not hurting anyone. If you give everything for other people, you will become empty. You will have nothing left for yourself. And then you will feel unsatisfied, frustrated, and sad. And then, of what good are you to others if you yourself are sad? Nothing. If you are a person who feels proud of yourself, if you feel happy with good self-esteem and self-sufficiency, to take responsibility for yourself, you will also be able to provide all these positive energies to others, all these emotions so needed. You can care for your partner, the person you love. However, keep in mind that you also deserve to be cared for, ladies. Recognize and value. It is power play where both should win and neither lose. If you are one of those people that feel happy when caring for others, remember that you should begin first with yourself. If you fall, the others will fall. Cultivate your own happiness, and then you will also be able to offer happiness to others. It's worth the effort. Any questions, ladies? Any concerns? Any comments on the Wendy syndrome?
So the Wendy syndrome is just an enabler. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to.
You have one question. Was you asking a question?
So we can be suffering from. So it's okay. So being an enabler, it causes her mental illness, like the whole Wendy syndrome, right? Or can trigger the mental illness that we already have in situations.
No, it's two separate things. A person can have more than one mental illness. And what I mean by that is that you can have a strong, like Yeshaya said, like, when your house is being robbed, he said the strong man will be bound up and his goods will be spoiled. So that means you can have a door opener. Your strong man could be abandonment, rejection, something like that. And that would keep the door open for all these other mental illness and different disorders to come in. Now, we know the Wendy syndrome is an enabler. What is an enabler? It's a people pleaser. How does a people pleaser come about? It's when you're young, when you have been rejected, when you felt like you didn't fit in a crowd, you know what I mean? Like you didn't belong. So what did you do? You started doing things to make people happy. You start taking people places and you build up this fake relationship because the spirit in this person really don't like you, but they will see the spirit in you wanting to be like, and people can use you as a doormat. You become a people pleaser. You do things when you don't want to, You do things just because you fond of that person. You don't want that. If you say no to that person is not going to deal with you anymore. So you do whatever it is, even if it's caused you to sacrifice what you want to do, So a Wendy syndrome is just like a person who has been rejected, starting out by one of the parents, you know what I mean? And then, so if you're dealing with Peter Pan syndrome, what is he doing? He wants to be a little boy. He don't want to grow up. So as his adult wife, he's going to reject you and all your adult things. So you're enabling, instead of saying, look, you have to grow up, you gotta deal with this, you're just gonna start doing what he wanna do. You know he wanna play a video game, you're gonna go and buy him, and you're gonna go and buy your grown man a video game. But I think it's with a mother as well. A mother can, even though that child has the characteristic of being Peter Pan, that mother can, like you see all these mothers going by their kids during Christmas time or whatever, all these video games, the new games that come out and all that. You see grown men buying them own selves video games. You know, so it's like Elder was saying, you have Ahab and Jezebel, you have Peter Pan and Wendy. These spirits work together, they're in the same family.
Let's wrap this up with Peter Pan. Let's read the narcissism and chauvinism, because we got to get to narcissistic personality. So read that, and then we're going to get to the next disorder.
Narcissism and chauvinism. These are the two intermediate symptoms that emerge in the latter stages of the Peter Pan syndrome. Narcissism usually precedes chauvinism, giving the victim a systematic method of projecting his insecurities upon other people. Magical thinking flourishes during this period, taking the victim away from reality and toward attitudes that border on the bizarre. Narcissism locks the young man inside his own fantasies and prohibits the personal growth that comes from meaningful relationships with other people. The chauvinism associated with the PPS is much more subtle than the highly visible variety commonly espoused by bullies and braggarts. It protects the narcissistic victim from heartache and disappointment, giving him an adult role that promises acceptance, however shallow, from his peers. The women who fall in love with the older PPS victims are absolutely dumbfounded when they finally become aware of the chauvinism. It is so surreptitious that the female thinks that she has the problem. Narcissism and chauvinism, in concert with irresponsibility, anxiety, loneliness, and sex role conflict, complete the structure upon which the crisis period of the Peter Pan syndrome will develop.
Yes, one more.
That's good. That's good.
You want me to talk about this? That's okay, go ahead.
Talk about what?
Just continue over this. The video of the narcissistic personality, so
Right. Right, so narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. That's another one that we need to look at and we need to investigate on what is going on. All right. So with narcissistic personality disorder, first of all, let's do a little history lesson. Where did narcissism come from? Right? So in Greek mythology, there was this guy named Narcissus, and he was so in love with himself. He felt so beautiful about himself that he saw a pool of water, and he looked in this pool of water not for a few minutes, but for years. And he sat there and he saw his reflection, and he was so in love with this reflection that he sat there for years. And that's where you get the flower called narcissism. There's an actual, it's called narcissus or something. There's an actual flower called that. So he was looking in the reflection of the water, and he fell so in love with himself that he became a flower. Of course, this is Greek mythology. But let's get into the symptoms of narcissism, okay? And being a narcissist. One of the characteristics is that you have stable and long-standing, often beginning, it's stable. It's long standing, and it often starts in early childhood when this thing is developed. Okay? It's inflexible and persuasive across a wide range of personal and social situations. They cannot be moved, these type of people. They cannot be, you cannot speak to them, you cannot talk to them, you can't be persuasive with them. It's one way and their way, and that's it. They don't account for, it doesn't account for any other mental disorder or substance abuse. This is what the spirit does. Because it doesn't tell you, it doesn't say that you have bipolar. It's narcissistic. You don't have bipolar. There's nothing wrong with you.
It's perfect.
Everything is wrong with everybody else. But there's nothing wrong with you.
Everybody
Right?
else is wrong.
Right, everybody else is wrong. Chemical substance abuse, no, that's not you. You're too great for that. A person who has a severe narcissism disorder, they're hardly ever are going to be people who are substance abuse. They're not going to do that. They feel they are too great to beneath themselves to go to drugs and alcohol. That's how they think. Typically, the people who have narcissism are evaluated as a youth. They have long-term patterns, and it goes into adulthood. At this point, no one can come to a conclusion with another person that has a narcissistic disorder. You cannot argue with these people. They are right, even though they are dead wrong, they are right all the time, right? Yeah.
Now, what we said earlier is that a person can have more than one type of mental illness. So, as a narcissist, you would think that your body is too great to put these different drugs into, but that's for that time, because we do know spirit they go dormant. So if a person is dealing with depression, and then they have a narcissistic personality disorder as well, so when that narcissist demon has went dormant and that depression comes up, then that depression at that time will cause that person to go into drugs and alcohol, or what's bipolar will cause them to do things like that.
Right.
So it's what demon is active in that person at that time.
Right. Right. So there's a lot of symptoms with this narcissistic personality disorder. We're going to go through a few of them from the DSM-4. They have a sense of self-importance. They exaggerate all the time about achievements, talents, and they exaggerate all the time about everything that they do, whether it's at work or at school. They over-exaggerate. They preoccupied with fantasies. They want unlimited power, unlimited success. They feel that they're brilliant. They feel that they are the most handsome or most beautiful person on the planet, right? They believe that he or she is special. They are unique, right? They require excessive admiration. So not only do they feel it on the inside, but everyone in their circle has to praise them.
That sounds tiresome.
Okay? They have a sense of entitlement. They expect special treatment. They expect a red carpet treatment everywhere they go. They expect special treatment. Okay? They lack in empathy. They don't feel sorry for anyone. They don't care for anyone's feelings. They don't even identify with people's feelings. They don't care. They are very arrogant, haughty. They have a very high-minded, nasty attitude about themselves. They also believe that other people are jealous of them, other people are envious of them, and they always think that somebody is out to get them because people are jealous and envious of them. Yes, ma'am.
One thing my psychology teacher used to say is that you can tell someone who has narcissistic personality disorder when you take them to a restaurant and they're like, oh, it's going to be a 30-minute wait. And then they get upset and say, no, we're just going to leave instead of just waiting. Because he was like, the person is thinking, how dare you say this to me? I should have a table. I should be served first.
Exactly.
Or he said they'll slide the waiter a tip and say, you can find me a table now, huh?
Right. Exactly.
Red carpet treatment.
Red carpet treatment, right? So let's get some scriptures about this. We're going to find some scriptures in the Bible that talks about narcissism, all right? And then we're going to, with everything, we have a case study. And we're going to investigate the Pharisees. And we're going to see if the Pharisees have this type of disorder, this narcissistic disorder. Mm-hmm. So first scripture, we're going to go through these really quick. Romans 2:8. If you have questions on narcissism, please put them on the chat or you can ask your questions here. Romans 2:8. Okay, let's read.
Romans chapter 2, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
But unto them that are contemptuous and do not obey the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but obey unrighteousness,
Mm-hmm.
indignation, and wrath.
Uh-huh. That's a narcissistic person. Don't obey the truth, right? Let's go over to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Second Timothy 3, 1 and 2. All right, let's read.
2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves.
Men will be what?
Lovers of their own selves.
Go ahead.
Covetous.
Go ahead.
Boasters. Proud. Blasphemers. Disobedient to parents.
Mhm.
Unthankful. Unholy.
That is a narcissist. Let's go over to, let's hold that. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus 11 and 4. In the Apocrypha, Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 11 and 4. And then let's read that. No, not Baruch. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 11 and 4. Go ahead.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 11, verse 4. Boast not of thy clothing and raiment,
Mm-hmm.
and exalt not thyself in the day of honor.
Mm-hmm.
For the works of the Lord are wonderful, and his works among men are hidden.
Narcissists. You talk about your clothes all the time. You talk about your house all the time. You talk about all the material things that you really think that you got when you really don't. Because somebody else owns your clothes. Somebody else owns your house. Somebody else owns your apartment. You don't own anything. Somebody else owns your car. Doesn't matter if you got the title or not. Someone else owns it. And that entity can come and take it. And you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they took my chairs today.
Right? So let's go to James 3. James 3, and we're going to read verses 14 to 16. And then after James 3, 14 to 16, we're going to go Philippians 2 and 3. And then I'm going to show you also, if you got this narcissistic disorder, you're always bragging, boasting, always pumping yourself up. Let's see what Father feels about that. So let's read James 3 and let's read Philippians 2.
James chapter 3 verse 14. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. Thy wisdom, this wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
It's the devil. Being a narcissist is nothing more than being a devil. Read.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work.
Every evil work is with this narcissist spirit. All right, let's get over to Philippians. We're going to read 2 and 3. And then let's see what Father feels about people who like to brag about themselves. Let's read that.
Philippians chapter 2 verse 3. Let nothing be done through strife or vain glory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves.
Let each esteem. You're supposed to be able to lift up a person. You're not supposed to be able to, you should not be tearing them down. Because you think that you look like a movie star. When in fact you look, let's not even say that. Let's do this. Those who like to brag and boast and like to, pump their chest up and like to walk around haughty, let's see what Father feels. Let's go to Acts the 12th chapter. Let's go to Acts the 12th chapter. And let's see what Yeshua feels about you. Let's go to Acts 12, and we're going to start at verse 21. Acts 12 and 21. And we're going to read a couple verses. Acts 12 and 21. Okay, let's read this.
Acts chapter 12 verse 21. And upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel,
clothes, right? We just read in Ecclesiasticus about your clothing. Read.
Sat upon his throne, and made an ornament unto them. And the people gave us shouts, saying, it is the voice of a God, and not of a man.
They're talking about Herod. Remember we said with this narcissistic disorder that you have to have people praising you. This is what was going on with Herod. Herod had to have people praising him. Read.
Verse 23, and immediately the angel of the Lord smote him.
The angel did what?
Smote him.
No, they complimented him.
Smote him.
Pat him on the back.
Smote
Said
him.
he's a great guy.
Smote him.
Killed him. Killed him. Why? Narcissistic personality disorder. It will kill you. Finish the verse.
Because he gave not the Most High the glory.
He did not give the Most High the glory. So if you're always bragging and boasting about yourself and always talking about how high and mighty you are, you're not giving glory to Father. So he don't need you. Read.
And he was eaten of worms.
Eaten of worms.
Ooh, that had to be a lot of worms.
Finish 23.
And gave up the ghost.
Gave up the ghost. Right? So, King Herod had to be struck down. Why? Because he was a narcissist. We already read in Daniel the 4th chapter a few weeks ago, Nebuchadnezzar had to be struck down because of his own conceit and his own pompous. Let's go to the Pharisees. Let's see about the Pharisees. Let's go to Matthew 6. We're going to read verses 1 and 2. And then we're going to go to Luke 18, verses 10 through 14. And then I'm going to save the best one for last. Let's read that.
Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. Therefore when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues, and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
You know what the problem with Judah especially? Is that Judah can't do anything for Judah. They can't. They have to tell you, I remember when I did that for you? Remember when you needed a co-signer for that car and you won't give me a ride? Remember when I had co-signed for you that car? Remember, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have that car, fool. That's what Judah does. You can't do nothing for Judah. That's why you don't have to do nothing for me. Because then, if you do something for me, then I know I'm going to hear about it in a couple of weeks.
Well, Yeshaya tells us don't let our right hand know what the left hand is doing.
Correct. So what Yeshaya is saying is that, Judah, you got a problem. Because, and I'm saying this because this is especially with Judah. You can't do nothing without somebody saying, remember when I. Remember when I. You wouldn't have it if I. Judah. Crabs in a bucket. Right? Let's skip over to Luke 18. And let's read Luke 18.
Luke chapter 18, verse 10. Two men went up into the temple to pray.
Mm-hmm.
The one a Pharisee and the other a publican.
Uh-huh.
The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself.
Mm-hmm.
Our power, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican.
See, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. I mean, you are so, your prayers, and let me say this, I know that people prayed like that probably before you came here. I know that. And I don't mean pray, I mean you talk things about people. Well, I wish that person was this, I wish that person was that. Right? You do those things, right? But you didn't have an understanding on what you were doing.
Or you secretively having thoughts of you want bad things to happen to people.
Right. Okay, that's narcissism. Envy, narcissism, right? Read.
Verse 12, I fast twice in the week, I give tithes of all that I possess.
So now you start giving out your credentials.
To the Most High.
You're giving your credentials to the Most. He already knows what you do, but yet still you giving out your credentials. I teach 3 hours a night. I do this. I fast. I pray. I do this. I do that. Right? Matthew 5, I've never heard you. Read.
And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven.
That's humble. Read.
But smote upon his breast, saying, My power, be merciful to me, a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, this man went down to his house justified, rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
It's very simple. Very simple. The Bible makes it very, very clear, very, very simple. You cannot operate in a spirit of narcissism. You cannot operate in a spirit of... And pride and narcissism, they're the same thing. They're the same thing. There's no one step above another. They're the same thing. So...
And let me say, ladies, women who operate in a Jezebel spirit, they have a spirit of pride as well.
All right. So with pride comes people have grandiose visions of themselves and believe that the Most High chose themselves to do whatever it is that needs to be done. That Higher himself chose me to teach these lessons. Higher himself told me how to preach to the people. But y'all don't know what y'all need. That's grandiosity. Thinking of himself as a hero, right? Who stands opposite of Satan, but you're working for Satan, right? Lack of empathy. Don't understand the human element. Don't want to pat nobody on the back at all. You're too great for that. One thing about narcissism is they can't stand people who are weak. They despise people who are weak.
Mm-hmm.
They can't take it. They can't deal with people. They can't understand why are you so weak? Why are you sitting up there crying? Because your child just got shot in the head. What is wrong with you? They don't have a concept of that.
But they're weak themselves.
Right, because that brings me to my next one, paranoia. They always are thinking that somebody is out to get them. And it doesn't matter. It could be a 98-year-old lady who's blind, don't have any teeth, wearing Depends. They feel that that woman is plotting against them because they're so beautiful. And she would never look like me.
But not to kill them, but to outdo them,
Right.
to be better than them. She's going
Right.
to know more than you.
Right.
Yeah.
A narcissist, they don't look at the gray. They look at black and white. It's either black or it's white. They don't look at the gray. And the last thing about narcissism is that they love attention. We just read in Acts how Herod loved attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it smote him. How the Pharisees loved attention. We're going to end in a minute. But you had something in that book, right? About the sexual stuff. You want to read that real quick? Let's read this real quick about the Peter Pan because we missed something.
For wives and for lovers.
Yeah, that's where you left off at, right?
We should start looking at these lovers, right?
You can start with the wives.
For wives and mothers, keep your distance. Don't share any feelings until I give you permission to. Don't expect me to share feelings in return. Do not challenge my thoughts. Touch me according to my schedule. These unspoken edicts crush spontaneity, an essential ingredient in a mature love relationship. That they are unspoken makes love difficult. That they are contradictory makes love impossible. You can't possibly offer love when your partner has expectations of you that are hewn in stone. You must behave in a strictly defined manner or you will be rejected. If it weren't for your awareness that he has the potential to be a great love partner, you'd never tolerate his childish manipulations.
You good in bed, but you know what? You walking around with the little hat with the little fan, with the little propeller on top of it.
Oh, wow, yeah, we can see those.
But he okay in bed. Did you finish that paragraph?
Yes.
In the whole book.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? That goes along with the narcissism. What does Yeshaya feel about Peter Pan syndrome? or narcissistic disorder or histronic disorder. What does he feel about that? Let's go to Matthew 23. And let's see what Yeshua feels about that. Matthew, the 23rd chapter. And we're going to read verses 1 through 12. This will be our last scripture for the night. Matthew 23, verses 1 through 12. I pray we have an understanding when we talk about these disorders, that we're getting an understanding about personality disorders. We did mood disorders last week. Personality disorders this week. Next week is schizophrenia. The week after that, sexual disorders. Yes, there are sexual disorders that we need to understand and know about. We need to understand who incubus and succubus is. We need to understand what these demons are, right? That's in a couple weeks. Let's read Matthew 23, and we're going to read verses 1, I believe, to 12. Let's read it.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 1. Then spake Yeshua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works.
Do not do after their works. Read.
For they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
So that's just like that Peter Pan disorder, where you told them, pick up after yourself. You're a grown man. Nope. According to the scripture, he's saying they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers, not going to touch it. Because they feel like, you know what, why are you talking to me like that? You're not my mama. So they don't do it. Read.
Verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men.
The Peter Pan disorder, narcissist disorder, histronic disorder. Read.
They make broad the placellaries and enlarge the borders of their garments.
See, make yourself seem bigger than who you really are. Keep going.
And love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogue.
Always got to be the center of attention. All three of these disorders that we talked about, histrionic, Peter Pan, and narcissistic, they have to be the center of attention. Whether it's negative or whether it's positive. Read.
And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be ye not called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Yeshua, and all ye are brethren.
That's where we get that nobody should be having a title Rabbi in front of their name. No one. But of course, that religion is in defiance against the Most High anyway. Read.
And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Verse 10. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Yeshua.
That's right.
But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant.
See, that's the thing with narcissistic, with Peter Pan, and histrionic. They are the anti of this verse. This verse is saying that, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. Right? Not them. Not them. They are the ones who want to be served. Read verse 12.
Verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
Now let's keep going. I like the woes. Let's keep going. Let's keep going to 17.
Verse 13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites.
Hypocrites. Peter Pan disorder. You're a hypocrite. Narcissist disorder. You're a hypocrite. Read.
For ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in.
Verse 14.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation.
You shall receive the greater damnation. What is it you're doing? You're sitting up there and you are defiling yourself. Making yourself grand and known. Prayers. Right? Yeshua called them prayers. But what about the person who has these disorders? Just sit in front of a room in front of everybody.
One thing you read also with the Pharisees that they like take the, like, what was it saying? Something like the, like when they feast, they have the best table, the big
Right.
upper room.
Mm-hmm.
Like you always have to have the best, even if you can't afford it, you go broke.
Mm-hmm. That's Peter Pan. Peter Pan. You're trying to live with a silver spoon in your mouth and you make $3.50 an hour.
And it's not registering to you that you can't afford this. But
Right.
in your mind, you think you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up in debt.
Keep going.
Verse 15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves.
More than the child of hell yourself.
Wow.
Oh, goodness. You see why they killed him? Keep going.
Verse 16. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor.
Verse 17.
Ye fools and blind,
Mhm.
for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold?
What is greater, the temple or the gold? Let's skip over to verse 20. Let's skip over to verse 23. Okay? And let's read that.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith.
Mm-hmm.
These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the others undone.
Uh-huh. Keep going, 24.
Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel.
Strain a gnat and swallow a camel. Right? Verse 25. Very interesting. This is narcissism. Read that.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye may clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess.
Mm-hmm. That's the narcissistic disorder. On the outside, you feel you're beautiful, but inside you are just garbage. Read.
Thou blind Pharisee, clean first that which is within the cup
Mm-hmm.
and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
So Yeshua now is telling them, you need deliverance. If you're dealing with any type of personality disorder, you need deliverance. If you're dealing with histrionic disorder, you need deliverance. Peter Pan, deliverance. Wendy, deliverance. Narcissistic, deliverance. Yeshua is saying this right here. You have dead men bones. Did he mention dead men bones?
That's 27.
That's 27. Okay, let's keep going.
Verse 27, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead man's bones.
Inside you are full of dead man's bones. Read.
And of all uncleanness.
All uncleanliness. You need to be delivered from this.
That's right.
You need to be delivered from this. And everything that we have went through, I guarantee that at least one of these traits is in everybody in here. Everybody in here. And that's not to put a slight on anybody. But you need to be set free. You need to be delivered from this. Because if not, those seducing spirits are gonna get bigger and bigger and stronger and more smarter and smarter.
And don't think that we was excluded, because while Mother was giving us this information, we got delivered.
Yes, we did.
We went through deliverance. We got delivered as well.
Let's see what else. If you don't get delivered, let's go to verse 33. Same chapter. Let's read verse 33.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 33. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?
How can you escape the damnation of hell? I'll tell you how. Get delivered. Get set free. Start operating in these laws, statutes, and commandments. Get these evil spirits out of your head and get these evil spirits out of your mind, out of your body. Because I'm going to tell you something. These things are going to destroy you, especially after tonight. Oh, they're going to rev up now. They done been, oh, wait. They done found us out. They done sat up there and now, girl, they done said you got Histronic. Oh goodness, oh they done found out. So now we gotta do something. We gotta lay low.
And we're not giving no power to the devil.
Correct.
Because we don't do that. But ever since Mother brought this information forward and the devil has been exposed, like we've been going through some stuff, but that's okay. That's what we do. And we knew it would happen.
Anytime that you expose anything about with the king of darkness, guaranteed that there's going to be a outwardly attack. It's with the territory. That's why no one should be teaching unless you are ready, because you will face something that you have never faced before.
It's a spiritual
to stop you, especially if you're speaking the truth. Especially if you're speaking the truth. All right. So these are disorders, and these disorders can stop you from getting to the wilderness. They play with your head. That's the main thing. Get delivered from here. Be honest and truthful with yourself. Because let's say, men, if you lied on that test, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You're only hurting yourself. But guess what? You just gave the demons legal rights to stay in and to manipulate you
Become
even
stronger.
more.
And I feel sorry for you if you lied on that test or you denying what's going on with you, and especially if you have sons. Because what's in you is in your
son.
In your son and your children.
Right.
Yep.
Ladies, histrionic, right? Deny yourself. No, that's not me. I don't know what they're talking
Take
about.
offense.
Take offense. And guess what? That spirit now has legal rights.
In your daughter.
And now that thing is going to produce some stuff that you ain't never seen before.
And
see, this is what we keep saying. When things are being exposed, these teachings are exposing these demons, and you say, I don't have it, guess what? Now the demons say, oh yes you do, but you know what? I'm going to create even more havoc in your life. I'm going to create even more destruction in your life, because you denied us in front of the Father. You denied and said you don't have Peter Pan syndrome when you sitting up there with a green outfit, tights, the little stupid little hat that he wears, and you're dancing around with Tinkerbell at your side. But you don't have Peter Pan disorder syndrome. You don't have narcissist syndrome when every time somebody says something, hey, how you doing? Well, guess what?
I did this at work. I
Guess
did
what?
this at work.
They said this at work. They said this at school. They told me at school that I can teach better than the professors. But they're going to make me head of the science department because I got an A in science. Who are you lying to?
Anybody with discernment know that you're lying.
Stop!
especially if you're part of this ministry, we know when you are lying. We have discernment. We know better.
Stop it.
We know when it's a demon speaking through your face.
Stop it. All right, we'll open up for questions.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you,
Me?
Shamari.
I have a few.
Okay.
Oh my.
The first one, we know how
Speak
like.
up for YouTube, for the live streamers. Maybe they have the same question.
Okay. We know how it's like different levels to deliverance. So like, if you get delivered from one thing, you got delivered from that part of it, but it can be like a different level.
Yes.
So when you're finding out these things and you're going through deliverance, how do you have to have more discernment, or you have to like just get prayer to find out how to get delivered from that other level? Because it's still there. So like, are you really being delivered, or is it like part of the mindset change?
No, you are being delivered. If you're going through different levels, yes, you are being delivered. The thing of it is that as you go through higher levels, you may need the deliverance minister to assist you with those higher levels, because of the fact that those demons, when you go to higher levels, those demons are much more intelligent. They are much more cunning. Their job is to stay in. So the more levels that you go through, the more deliverance. Of course, the discernment should kick in. You should be able to. But let's be honest, there are certain things, i.e. demonic spouses, that different levels of demonic spouses require someone to assist you, because those things, as we have experienced, don't just come out by self-deliverance.
I think what she was saying is that, so if you're going through deliverance from depression,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know, like, do you need more prayer or more deliverance?
Well, if you,
And what that is, that's in mother's timing. It's at what level of maturity or understanding that you get delivered. Because you can get delivered from depression, but if depression has another family member attached to it,
mm-hmm.
but if you're not in the right mind frame at that time to receive that deliverance, like, so you can understand you have depression,
Mm-hmm.
but with depression can come
sadness, sorrow,
sorrowful, but
feeling pity about yourself.
but if you feel
low
like you don't
self-esteem.
have that and you don't have understanding about that, then you won't get delivered at that time. Like each deliverance, like mother knows when she's gonna deliver us, if she's gonna deliver us, and like when we're ready.
Right.
So you can get delivered from depression, but if something else is connected to that, it may be the next day. It may even be 2 or 3 years later. Because like my family, we've been going through deliverance for over 7 years now. Now, when we first started off, it was rapidly. We were going like this. But as we got more seasoned in the scriptures and understanding, that's when more of the roots come out. But when they come out, it's because Mother has given us wisdom and knowledge about it. She has shown us some things. We have to come to a mind change and an understanding of it, and then you get delivered. Like things that I was dealing with early on, and I didn't know that I had, like I got delivered from something here, but something deeper, the root was in, but I didn't know it. So I didn't get delivered till like 4 years later when I found out that was the root. So it's only in, when mothers say it's time. So you can't, what I'm saying is you can't rush your deliverance. You're like, if you go have fear, you can go through deliverance from fear for 3 years, but it's like I want to say, let's just say it's a 20-story building. You can have 5 levels of fear that you have to go through deliverance from, but it's different. It could be fear of people. It could be fear of death. I mean, it could be different things, but you go through it, whenever it's time for you to go through.
Well, let's say this too, because the different levels, that's all good, but let's be honest. If you continue to sin,
Well, you're getting delivered.
it doesn't matter.
It gets worse.
If you continue to sin, you get delivered from whatever. and you go into sin, that's also.
So you get delivered from fear, but then you start being rebellious
So
towards the Most High.
it cancels it out.
Yes?
Your question? You have another one?
Yeah.
All right.
So with the mood disorders, with those, is that like a gatekeeper? Because I know like the strong man, is that like rejection, abandonment, rebellion?
Okay, let's understand something. The strong man is rejection, rebellion, or abandonment. Everything else falls under those.
It's good.
So
Everything else, mood disorders, personality disorders, they all fall under those main three. Those main three are the gatekeepers. Okay?
So
A
usually-
mood disorder is not a gatekeeper.
No.
okay.
It's goods. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you could have rejection, and with that rejection, like I was telling the sister over here, with rejection, that's when you have that people pleasing, the Wendy syndrome. Like you have all that connected with all that. So when we were showing that pigs in a parlor book, if you're the left hand that has rejection, then you're dealing with all this emotional stuff, all that suspicion is all that is under there. But then if you're the right hand and you're dealing with rebellion, then that's something, all the spirits that's under there.
Right. The spirits that we talked about tonight, the histronic, Peter Pan, and the narcissistic, those are not strongholds. Those are the goods. The stronghold is rebellion. What else?
Are we still doing stuff about the teaching or just any question?
No, any question?
I want to see if we can get a better understanding of Judges chapter 14. 5
Judges
through
14, what verse?
5 through 9. You did a
Judges
teaching.
14, 5 through 9.
You did a teaching on it a while back. It was a scripture we had, and I remember like part of it, but I didn't remember what the honey signified. I think it was like the young roaring lion was a Judah man.
Is it the bees?
Yeah.
Okay, let's read it.
Judges chapter 14, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyard of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned her aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating. And came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
Okay. What's your question?
So the young lion that was roaring, that was like symbolic for a man of Judah.
It's for Judah, correct.
So what would be the swarm of bees and the honey? Is that like the word or something?
Who was the bees? Does anybody remember? Probably not. Bees of Dan. Remember? Tribe of Dan?
Yeah.
We talked about that when we did that teaching from Egypt to Greece to Rome. And we brought that scripture together. The bees represent Dan, the tribe of Dan. Samson was what?
Dan.
Dan. Okay? So that's representing what the prophecy was said about in Deuteronomy, I believe, with the prophecy of no, not Genesis. I believe it is Deuteronomy, where it talks about Dan biting the heel, throwing the rider off. That all has prophecy to deal with the tribe of Dan. You got any more?
No,
So, your question, man?
So with the how do you say?
Histronic?
Yeah. So since it's a change of mind, it's a change of heart, right? And like I said, be delivered from it. You have to work at it every day.
You have to work at it. Yes.
But it's your
It's-
life, not
No.
working at every day.
Yeah, like recognizing. Do you know how it's like the inappropriateness, wanting to be the center of attention and such. Recognizing
Oh,
the
yeah.
characteristics on it, you know.
Like the inappropriate comments.
Like a fiery dart, because inappropriate comments are fiery darts. Inappropriate comments are fiery darts. So a dart comes in your head. You know that your Shia will not approve of it, but you say it anyway. That's the mindset change. Because are the fiery darts going to stop? No, they're not. They're going to continue on, especially if you say, you know what, this histrionic disorder, that's me, and I'm going to be set free from it. I'm going to watch what I say. I'm going to watch my attitudes. I'm going to watch the emotions. I'm going to watch all that, because when that stuff starts to flare up, I'm going to denounce it. The devil is sitting back like, oh, really? We're going to see how much. Start throwing stuff at you left and right. And then guess what happens? We always fall. Because the devil, you see that you've made a proclamation that, okay, this is what's wrong with me, and this is what I'm going to do. Because the emotion, that's me, I'm going to get set free from that. Speaking out of turn, that's me, I'm going to get set free from that. Everything else that deals with that disorder, I identify it, and I'm going to be set free, and I'm going to make sure that when that stuff happens, I denounce it. The devil is going to come and say, okay, well, guess what? I'm not going to throw a fiery dart your way. I'm going to throw a fiery dart at that person.
Or they're going to throw 50 fiery darts at you at one time. But that's like the Peter Pan syndrome. You know, your mind not being focused. And so you have to be aware of your thoughts. What is your mind on? You got to be aware of it. You have to be aware of when you want to go off and play video games or just do things, or when your wife comes to you to talk to you, you have to be aware, okay, I'm going to listen to her, we're going to reason, I'm going to try to understand her. You're not going to get attitude and say, what about you, to stomp off and lock yourself in a room. You're not going to do, you have to do the opposite
of what you've been doing.
Of what you've been doing. And to do that, you have to be conscious of your thoughts. What are you doing? The Bible says to cast down men with the Peter Pan syndrome, to cast down all imagination. And that Peter Pan syndrome is nothing but imagination, wanting to go off the plate, be a kid, don't want to deal with real life situations.
Right.
You must be aware and be conscious of your thoughts, what you're being saying out of your mouth, how you respond to other people.
Right.
You have to take responsibility for your life.
Right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, she got one more.
Yeah. So with that, with the historic and right, being vigilant and aware of everything, does that also fall in does it also fall in play with the Wendy symptoms and like some of the characteristics with that also, and the narcissist?
Yeah. So just say this: when your husband say, "Babe, take this money to get yourself a pedicure." No, we're gonna keep it and we're gonna buy you something. We're gonna use it for the house, and instead of saying, "Okay, I'm gonna," my husband said to take this money to spend it on me. So I'm going to take it and spend it on me. And I'm not going to say, no, I can just go without. I'll try to cut my own and grow toenails out.
Right, that's the Wendy syndrome.
Yeah. So you have to learn to take care of you. You don't have to do it with an attitude. You don't have to be stank about it. You know what I mean? Your husband said, babe, take this money and go do something for yourself. Okay, baby, thank you. Thank you, sweet. You don't have to keep going back and forth. You don't have to fight with him to take care of him. You don't have to do that.
Right.
You don't have to get an attitude. Look, you got kids. Look, this time is for me and me only. You need to go over there with your dad. No, you don't do that.
No. That's the way we say it. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, I have a few questions about Peter Pan. For a person who truly wants to grow up and be set free, what is the best way to combat this Peter Pan thing?
Stop doing what you're doing.
Do the opposite.
Do the opposite what you've been doing. That's
So instead of walking around and being absent-minded, not being there in your own mind, and your mind is on something else, stay focused. You must stay focused. You know, when your wife is asking you to do something, don't just take off and walk away like you haven't heard nothing or you ignore it, you know what I mean? You have to communicate. Like I said, you have to be conscious. Okay, you need me to do this and this. Okay, you actually go do it. Don't be on your way to do it and then stop and sit down at the table and pull out your phone and start watching videos. Because that's what a kid would do. But part of that Peter Pan spirit, like Elder said, is rebellion. Because rebellion is when if your parents or somebody asks you to do something, and then they come back and you haven't done it, and the person be like, oh, I forgot I was going to get to it. That's rebellion.
That's rebellion.
That's rebellion. So part of that spirit is rebellion as well.
Right. Well, the gatekeeper's rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you must be focused and be aware. And I've been telling you all this for years. You must be focused in any type of mental illness. You must be aware and conscious of your thoughts. If they are not thoughts of the Most High, you must reject them. You must denounce them. And be aware of what your mind is on.
What's your next question?
Does Peter Pan get in from how you were raised when you were a child?
More than likely, yes. From when you were a child.
Bloodline from how you were raised.
Right.
My last question is, how would you go about repenting from this Peter Pan syndrome?
Well, just like you repent from anything else. Is it a sin to have is it a sin to recognize you have Peter Pan, any sin, any disorder? Is it a sin? No, it's not a sin.
But we have to know that Peter Pan spirit is an infidel spirit, and the Most High hates that.
No, that's not what I said. What I said is it a sin to recognize that you have a disorder?
No, that's a
No,
good
it's
thing.
not. So when you recognize that something is plaguing you, you repent of the actions that you were doing with that thing. That's what you repent for. You don't repent because, I repent for having Peter Pan syndrome.
No.
That does not make any type of sense. That will not get you set free and delivered. So what you want to do is you want to say, I repent from this is what I did. Oh, I have this Peter Pan syndrome, or I have this histrionic, or I have this narcissist. I was operating like this. I was operating like that. I know it goes against my Father's word. I'm repenting right now, Father. I want a mindset change.
Yeah, to give an example of that, the scripture tells, Yeshua said for the men, or the Most High said for the men to love their wives the way Yeshua loved the church. So if you have been neglecting your wife, you can repent from that. Father, forgive me for neglecting my wife. Forgive me for not being responsible and taking care of my wife the way you told me, like you know what you've been doing,
So that's what you repent for.
Things like that, yeah.
That's it? Any questions on the chat?
No.
All right, join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. We live stream 2 p.m. Our teaching tomorrow is going to be on hell. We're going to go through part 2 of hell. We got a lot of stuff to cover with that. Join us next week, Friday, 7 p.m. Arizona time. We're going to have our teaching on schizophrenia. You must tune in for this one. Everybody deals with some sort of schizophrenia. But we're going to break it down, and we're going to use thus saith the Lord with scriptures about schizophrenia. And we're going to have other things. Schizophrenia. Tomorrow we're going to street preach because May 13th is Mother's Day. So when we street preach tomorrow, we're going to give love to the ones who celebrate Mother's Day.
By that, we're gonna enlighten you.
We're going to enlighten you on Mother's Day. Because you're going to find out some stuff about Mommy's Day that not really you should be celebrating it. All right, so that's what we're going to street preach on tomorrow after the teaching on here. All right, so with that being said, we give all praise to the Most High. We thank Yeshua and Wawawak the Holy Spirit.
If you have enjoyed this teaching and found it educational, please like and subscribe for future teachings. Also remember to hit the bell, make sure it's highlighted blue for the notifications of future teachings.
Yes, Kwam Yasharala, we'll see you at 2 p.m. Arizona time for the part 2 of Hell.
Come on, Yasrala.
On your show.